bad can happen. It can only good happen.
It's a new form of vicious violation to our country.
The kidney has a very special place in the heart. It's an incredible thing.
Somebody said, is that a Trump statement or is that real?
For minors, do we love minors? I love minors.
What's up, guys? Hit that like button on the way in. I'll be right with you. We just hop right into this thing. Let's go. I appreciate you joining me once again. I'm Boston Brian. Welcome back to Blunt Politics. I hope everybody is enjoying the end of the year. Boy, is it ending in a crazy way, and we got lots to cover on today's show. So once again, I appreciate you taking your time out of your day to join it, to spend it here with me. So please hit that like button, make it worth your while. Subscribe to the channel if you do like what you're hearing. If you like what you're seeing, take that time out to hit that subscribe button. All of that is free. Drop a like. Drop a comment in the old chat there. Would be a very a good thing, a good way to help this channel. You can help by sending Venmo up here. Just a buck or two goes a long way in helping the channel. You can sign up at patreon.com, YouTube memberships, the whole 9 yards. So I really do appreciate you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Make sure you go and check out my interview that I did last night with Matt from the Letter Hack. I really do, once again, appreciate. Big thanks to Matt, and I really appreciate his time and taking the time out to kind of, I don't know, a highlight, spotlight. I don't know if that's what you want to call it, but taking the time to sit down and talk to me. It was a fun interview. So head over to the Letter Hacks channel. Check that out. A little bit of insight, asking a little bit of different questions than you normally hear from the old Blunt Politics podcast, I'm sure. But what do you say we dive into bringing in the old chat? Say hi to the old Chatsky here. What's up, guys? How are you? Let me see if I can bring in. Where are you? There you are. There you are. Let me see if I can throw you on the stage. Hey, what's up, guys? How are you? How's everybody doing? First and foremost, thank you to the mods for the work that you do. Thank you for keeping that chat a safe place. What's going on, Eddie? What's up, Bethany? Thank you to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram. Please make sure you hit the respective thumbs up, like, whatever it may be on that platform. Check me out on Substack as well. Real Boston Brian at Substack. I've been posting a lot of shorter videos, stuff over there that, some thoughts that I've had as well. I've been trying to utilize that platform a little more. So please check me out on all of the major platforms that I am on. That would be very much appreciated. But yeah, lots to talk about today. CIA carrying out targeted strikes, drone strikes, I guess, on a Venezuelan port. We'll be learning more details are coming out about that as we speak. The president of peace. Of course, we'll be speaking about the ongoing drone attacks and how he's managed to somehow ramp up even more the drone and missile attacks, even from his first administration. We'll also be diving into and debunking, for the most part, those Minnesota fraud claims that I'm sure you've been hearing about, that I'm sure you've been seeing make their way around social media. For the very large part, old claims, but we'll be diving into a couple videos of some knowledgeable people that live within the confines of Minnesota that have some pretty good insight onto what was actually happened, when this actually happened, and kind of the tactics being used by this Nick Shirley character. Not only that, we'll be diving into kind of who Nick Shirley is, because he's done some propaganda in the past, both pertaining to the war in Ukraine, and also he did some Israeli propaganda as well. So it is also good to see not only what is being reported, but who is doing the reporting. And that will give you some good insights into whether or not you can actually take it seriously. But yeah, this is being picked up by not only the administration, DHS, mainstream news as well. So I just want to do my part and try to call that out to the best of my ability. So stay tuned for that. We'll also be diving into, let me throw this up on the screen. Maybe you guys would like to see what I'm looking at as well. That would probably help. Put this up on there for you guys. My apologies. Throw this up there. So this is one of the videos we'll be taking a look at. This is CNN and Harry Enton talking about Trump's numbers as it pertains to the war in Ukraine, right? So specifically how the American public are looking at what he's done so far, or better said, what he hasn't done so far as it pertains to what's going on in that specific war. and what his horrendous poll numbers look like, because they are not good. And it seems like the American people, on this issue more than most, are kind of in lockstep. I mean, we all know how difficult it is to get 70% or more than 50% of this country to agree on anything. We'll also be taking a look at Zelenskyy sat down with Brett Baier to have a conversation with him. So I want to dive into a little bit of that if I can as well. Let me get the chat out of my face. My apologies. Sorry about that. I wanted to make sure I said hi to you guys. The I've Had It ladies also have their kind of 2 cents that they wanted to throw in, not only about the Zelenskyy meeting, but I believe they also have a video about the Netanyahu meeting. If we have time, we'll see if we can dive into that. And then we have some updates and some information on the Russian propaganda story that I'm sure you've heard that was purely and blatantly made to kind of disrupt and disorganize the peace talks, the meeting between Volodymyr Zelenskyy and Donald Trump, where now Russia is claiming that Vladimir Putin's home, or one of Vladimir Putin's residences, was actually targeted by Ukraine. And of course, this is been denied. Zelenskyy denies that report, denies the allegations. And again, it fits right in line with the Russian propaganda and them just trying to kind of derail the talks and anything that may come from Zelensky's meeting, because there's always going to be that favorable press inside of the United States when Zelenskyy comes and he talks about the plight of the Ukrainian people and, what they're going through and, the attacks that Russia continues to perpetrate on a nightly basis. So to combat that, to try to offset that, right, this is what Putin saw. And of course, we can talk about the phone calls that he's had with Donald Trump since. I think it's like 2 or 3 phone calls at this point that he's had even since Zelenskyy had this meeting. So again, Donald Trump coming out and puppeting these same fucking talking points, which is exactly the point that Russia had. He wants Trump to come out there and accuse Ukraine of doing this, and he also wants that to throw off the news cycle of any favorable press that Ukraine and Zelenskyy may have been getting per his visit here. So what do you say we dive into it? Hit that like button. We're going to start off with the CIA drone strikes. Again, the president of peace, which is just absolutely asinine to say at this point, complete horse shit. I mean, any one of these talking points, any one of these pieces of evidence that we could point to suggest that not only has Donald Trump continued to ramp up his drone and missile activity, I think he's now carried out more. Was it Somalia or Syria? I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up now. I'm kind of having a brain fart at the moment. But in one of those 2 countries, he's actually ramped up the drone strikes even past what past presidents have done and his first administration. And again, we talk about how in his first administration, he came in and exponentially ramped up from Obama's administration, the drone and missile strikes. Not only that, but the civilian casualties that were associated with those drone and missile strikes. Again, I think what was the headline not that long ago, that he's already launched more drone and missile strikes in his second term than Biden did in his 4 years. Something like that. Of course, fact check that one. I think it was something along those lines. All right, but let's dive into this if I can. This is a little bit of more information that's been coming out. This is CNN. I believe this is from this morning, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I can look at this. Yeah, 6 hours ago. The CIA carried out drone strike earlier this month on a port facility on the coast of Venezuela. Sources familiar with the matter told CNN, marking the first known U.S. attack on a target inside that country. And let's just see what else we can learn from this. Let's dive into it. Hit that like button. Again, I'm Boston Brian. I really do appreciate you guys coming and spending your time here, trying to get whatever news you may want to dive into here, and in however way I can make it a little bit more digestible than just kind of the mundane fucking watching of the mainstream media, C-SPAN and that stuff, then, I guess I'm doing my job. So let's dive into it. I appreciate you guys.
Breaking overnight, a CNN exclusive. Sources say the CIA carried out a drone strike on a port facility on Venezuela's coast earlier this month. This is the first known U.S. attack on a target inside the country. Now, before this, the U.S. had only conducted strikes on suspected drug trafficking boats.
And those strikes on the boats of now, I believe, over 100 of which have been carried out, or was it 80 of which and 110 people have died? I think it's about 80 or so strikes, and we've now killed about 109, 110 people in those strikes, which have been ongoing, even though they have not been as prominently reported like they were.
National waters, destroying more than 30 vessels in the Caribbean Sea. You can see some of the images of what we've seen to this point, and this has typically been in the Caribbean Sea and Eastern Pacific. Now, President Trump first acknowledged the strike on a remote Venezuelan dock in an interview last week.
And we just found out, I don't know if you read or you saw, they have a big plant or a big facility where they send where the ships come from. 2 nights ago, we knocked that out. So we hit them very hard.
I want to bring in CNN.
And of course, no Congress involvement, right? Yeah, again, Victor took the words out of my mouth. Attention, Congress, you're now irrelevant, which again has been the case pretty much since 9/11, right? I mean, we've seen president after president pretty much undertake similar kind of aspects towards strikes, which again, we all have had problems with, which is why we continue to call it out at this point too. But again, this is, again, going the end around Congress, the Hail Mary. Don't worry, Congress is the safety in this regard, and the safety bit on the fucking run fake, if you get my sports analogy, and there's just a wide open Hail Mary at this point. Because typically what's supposed to happen when you declare war on a country, we all know the rules, the regulations, and kind of the policy and how that's done using Congress, right? Something that, again, this is not utilizing. This is going the end around, so to speak. But, just kind of the further escalation. I know this has taken place earlier in the month, but apparently the reporting on this has just now been breaking, or at least the detailed information since Donald Trump said that in that report is kind of coming out, which is why I believe people are hopping on it now. But here we go with the escalatory marks, why we may have the fucking 25%, what is it, 15 to 25% of the U.S. Navy down there. Is this only going to increase in terms of land strikes? I mean, it's one thing to be, committing war crimes and to be, going against international law, maritime law, as far as striking boats in international water. But it's a whole different fucking ball game when you start striking somebody's home territory. When you start striking somebody's sovereign land, right? I mean, both are illegal. Both are, we can both call them out, but you can probably say that it's probably going to start instilling some, retaliation, let's just say, from people when you start attacking their villages or their ports or their homes or their leaders, whatever it may be, right? I mean, that's just what the human mind would tell you would come next, is some retaliatory response, right? I mean, I don't know. Am I crazy? Am I crazy to think that? But again, the president of peace, ladies and gentlemen, the president of peace, even though he says he now wants to undertake strikes on places like Colombia, Mexico, China, because they're all responsible in some part for drugs getting into the United States. And Donald Trump, from his own lips, said he wants to undertake strikes just like this on any country that's responsible for sending drugs into the United States. And all of which would have to be undertaken: Mexico, China, Colombia, Peru. I mean, we'll just go down the list of countries that would have to fucking undertake strikes in.
Who's in Palm Beach, Florida, for us. So, Kevin, what can you tell us about this new escalation, really, at this point?
Yeah, and it is a major escalation. President Trump has been threatening for weeks now to begin action on land in Venezuela. Now that we're learning that has actually begun, it does seem to signal a much more aggressive phase in this pressure campaign on the leader there, Nicolas Maduro. Now, what sources tell us is that this CIA drone strike took out a facility on a dock on the coast.
And again, this was reported. We talked about how Donald Trump came out and he said he sanctioned CIA activities. Right. That's exactly what we talked about. Now we're kind of seeing, the actions. We're seeing the results of that. This says on the screen here, targeted port facility on the coast. First known U.S. attack inside Venezuela. Tren de Aragua suspected of using remote dock for drug storage and transport. No casualties reported. And again, I don't know if that Tren de Aragua suspected of using this remote dock for drug storage and transport is coming from, I don't know who that's coming from. If that's coming from Pete Hegseth and that's coming from this administration, then it falls right along, falls right in line with the bullshit that they've been spreading without actually giving evidence, providing factual and specific evidence. And again, what is this remote dock that they're talking about? Are there pictures? Are there satellite images of what it looked like before, what it looks like now? I'd be kind of curious. How remote is it? How well used is it? Was it worth the action that we undertook? I don't know, that whole, you know what I mean? Was there really no casualties? I'd be really surprised to see if the administration was telling the truth on that one, if that's where that came from as well.
Venezuela, where the U.S. government believes the gang trender Aragua was loading up ships with drugs for onward shipping. Now, there was no one in the facility at the time, so there were no casualties. But I think
what were they on vacation? Trende Aragua decided to take a couple days off for what, Christmas? No, this was earlier in the month, so it couldn't have been Christmas. So what it was, there must have been some holy holiday that they were taking a couple days off of their drug trafficking business. They just what, left this fucking remote dock storage drug transport facility wide open for a couple days? Or again, was that maybe relayed? Was there some information relayed to these people saying, hey, we're going to take this fucking thing out, maybe skedaddle for a couple days? I don't know. Maybe we'll learn more in the coming days when this decides to, when more people decide to do some reporting on this. But it just seems weird to me that a gang, like Trende Aragua would just vacate this dock that apparently and suspectedly was making them tons and tons of money. They just decided to take a week off. They're like, you know what? Go home, see your kids, see your wives, have a couple drinks, watch some football. We'll fucking reconvene, and we'll reconvene after the weekend. Fucking Christ! It's crazy how literally nothing adds up from this government. No matter what we're talking about, if it's the murder of Charlie Kirk, if it's the Venezuelan fucking fishing boat strikes that we've been talking about, if it's having 20% of the U.S. Navy in the Caribbean, like nothing makes sense as to what they're doing, why they're supporting Russia so favorably, so prominently, as opposed to our allies and Ukraine. Nothing makes sense anymore in today's world.
All of this came to light is also extraordinary. CIA operations are normally shrouded in secrecy, and unless President Trump had sort of let it slip in that radio interview, which I would note was with a billionaire Republican donor, it's possible that we may never have known that this had happened. And
again, that's a great point. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, dude. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, and thank you to Carol as well for kicking it off. Carol with the $10. Thank you so much. She says, happy whatever day it is. Hang in there, lovely people. We got this, damn it. Thank you so much. And thank you again to Mark for the gifted membership. I really do appreciate you guys contributing to the show. It really goes a long, long, long way in making sure that not only do we stay on the air, but more and more people get to see the show. So I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys. But yeah, that's another great point as well, because the only reason we know about this so far is Donald Trump's slip up, or Donald Trump mentioning this in this interview or phone conversation he had with this billionaire donor friend, because that seems like a fucking issue, seems like a problem. Not only that we didn't know about it, but also that the president of the United States is leaking this information on some random fucking phone call on with some random billionaire donor. Right? Falls right in line with what we know about the guy. What was that report before about? I believe it was the wealthy Australian businessman that overheard talk about nuclear submarines at Mar-A-Lago. Remember that reporting? And then it was, I believe, the limo driver. Oh, let me see if I can pull that up real quick, because I know I'm remembering bits and pieces of that. I think it was an Australian businessman, if I'm not mistaken, right? Businessman, submarine, Mar-a-Lago. See if that pulls up anything. Lago, sorry. Let's see here. The Australian businessman linked to a discussion about U.S. nuclear submarines at Mar-a-Lago is Anthony Pratt. Okay, Anthony Pratt, a billionaire who headed the packaging company Pratt Industries. The incident here, it says, let me throw this on the screen for you guys, see if you can see it. Yeah, you can. So I'm just throw that up there. So it says the timeline and location. In April 2021, months after leaving office, Donald Trump allegedly shared potentially sensitive information about U.S. nuclear submarines with Anthony Pratt during a meeting at his Mar-a-Lago club in Florida. According to Pratt accounts to federal investigators, Trump leaned in and disclosed two specific details: the supposed exact number of nuclear warheads the submarine can carry and how close they can get to a Russian submarine without detection. Reportedly shared this information with a large number of people afterwards, including several of his employees, journalists, foreign officials, and 3 former Australian prime ministers. I believe it was like the limo driver that overheard it, if I'm not mistaken. Federal prosecutors, Special Counsel Jack Smith's team interviewed Pratt twice as part of the investigation into Trump's handling of the classified documents. Pratt was identified as a potential witness in the case. A spokesperson for Trump claimed the president did nothing wrong, yada, yada, yada. I don't know if it says how they found out, but I do believe it was like if I'm not mistaken, a limo driver that kind of overheard this guy just kind of yapping about it on the phone. It's like, I don't know if we should be talking about that too much. I think that's probably something we should keep hush, right? But yeah, just falls right in line with what we know about Donald Trump knowing anything. But I'm going to dive into. There's going to be more and more to come out from this. There's no doubt, especially after more and more reporting is being done on it. No doubt the next thing will probably be, and let me see if there's actually, because I didn't dive into this whole thing. I don't think there's any like satellite imagery or footage or anything that I've seen so far of the site. No, this is more just a discussion on it afterwards. So, again, when more information comes out, I'll be sure to bring it to you. But I just wanted to make sure that we are staying up to date with all of the actions, activities, military strikes that this fucking administration is undertaking. As, again, they're trying to have their people tell everybody he's the president of peace and America first and all of this fucking hoo-ha and bullshit that we all know is just absolute fucking nonsense, right? So, but it's important that, we don't let this fly under the radar. The president, once again, undertaking military action under his own behest, right? Just willy-nilly calling it and saying, yep, the CIA, go ahead, strike that, bomb them, kill them, do this without using Congress, without any prior authorization from Congress, no declaration of war from Congress, nothing. So again, it's pretty self-evident as to why this is important to call out. Ridiculous shit that we continue to see. But let's jump into this story that I'm sure you guys are all fucking being just inundated with. If you're on social media, if you're on some of these different platforms that, are also fucking probably prominently featured as with Republicans as well, then you're probably seeing, especially even on the news and, what DHS is doing now about the so-called Minnesota fraud, right? Which, again, Nick Shirley, not only do you have to figure out what he's saying, but who is saying it. And before we dive into this video here from my buddy over there on TikTok, who does a wonderful job at breaking this down. He's from Minnesota. He actually absolutely has the information and the insights to kind of call this shit out. Not only that, but this is nothing new that Nick Shirley is breaking, right? This is old information, stuff that has already been investigated, prosecuted to a lot of extent, and in a lot of these cases, not even for the same thing or remotely close to the same thing that this kid Nick Shirley claims that they were being investigated or should be investigated for, right? So this has stirred up the Somalia community in Minnesota. This has brought on death threats. DHS has now ramped up their activities. The FBI, the DOJ, everybody else is now kind of hopping on this, and you can tell how this has spread through right-wing propaganda channels and how the people on Twitter and the major fucking known talking mouths that you would suspect would hop on things like this have hopped on things like this. Because, I mean, it's for a specific reason, right? It's being brought back up to demonize, to denigrate, to make sure that this community lives in fear. The Somalian community in Minnesota lives in fear, to attack people of color on a more widely generalized basis, and to fit right in line with the agenda, with the rhetoric from Donald Trump recently, to kind of corroborate that, if you will. Right, to make it seem like he wasn't kind of talking out of his ass, to make it seem like he wasn't just being racist. So they're now bringing this back up in hopes that this would, kind of give what Donald Trump was saying some legitimacy. Even though, again, this is old reporting to a large extent, even though this is false reporting to what Nick Shirley is saying. He's, being, directly obtuse, basically, and blurring out different aspects of hours and things on the doors and the windows, going to the back door instead of the front door in some of these cases. So a lot of trickery being played. But yeah, we got a couple good videos. But before we dive into this video kind of detailing and explaining kind of this whole thing, let's learn a little bit about who this asshole is. Because not only has this asshole done, let me throw this on the screen, and talking about Nick Shirley, Nick Shirley, and this post says, Nick Shirley, who is being promoted by Elon Musk, J.D. Vance, and the entire conservative media sphere, is a fanatical Zionist Israeli firster. He literally went to Israel to do a propaganda tour just a few months back. All the Zionists are doing, oh my God, Somalis, oh my God, Muslims for Israel. And this is a post from Nick where he says, I visited the Israel-Gaza border with the last mayor of Gaza. We stood where Hamas launched its attacks. We saw the destruction in the aftermath of October 7th, and the mayor breaks down the money trail to expose who profits from war and who is funding the war. This documentary breaks down how Hamas operates and funds itself, yada, 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 goes on. And if you watch it, it's just a bunch of absolute fucking bullshit, nonsense, reciting and spewing the same propagandistic talking points and just over-the-top bullshit that was reported in and around that time. So that's not the only one either, because he's also done the same for the war in Ukraine. And here's one post that I found, and I do apologize. I don't necessarily know how to pronounce this kid's name. I know I should. I know he does excellent work. I know he's in and around Ukraine all the time. He's living on the scene, and I apologize. I want to say it's Kalen, but I apologize for not being able to say that name correctly if I do. I was getting nervous when it came time to showtime. I'm like, I don't know how to say that. Kalen? I know it's not Colin, so I don't want to say that. So I apologize. But anyway, he's got a report from back earlier in the war when Nick did his propaganda piece from Ukraine. And he says, today I confronted Nick Shirley. He's the guy who came to Kyiv and made propaganda insinuating the war was not happening and it was a waste of American taxpayer money. After facing huge backlash, he's now saying it was, quote, satire. He also claims to be clueless about pro-Russian accounts, amplifying his content despite interacting with them. Watch and make up your mind. I just want to play a short clip from this, and it should give you a little bit of insights into who this fucking idiot is, and why the right wing would be propping up his work right now, or what he tries to pass off as work. Again, all right, this is, and again, can you guys any confirmation in the chat? Rachel says, I think that's correct, is Kalen, right? I'm hoping it's Kalen. Again, I don't like mispronouncing people's names. That's not one that I've seen all that often. I just want to make sure I get it right and I'm not being disrespectful. All right, let's pop into this one again. Just a minute or two from this to give you a little bit of insights, and then we'll hit Off Your Wagon's video kind of breaking down the Minnesota fraud. Let's dive into this. Again, this is about Nick Shirley's propaganda piece about the war in Ukraine, to give you a little bit of background about who this kid is.
So here's the caption you put up. $175 billion goes a long way. This is the capital of Ukraine. You're giving me all this great context. Where's the context in that tweet?
Yeah, if you go look at all the other tweets I put out, there's a lot of context as well.
Oh, so that's back.
And the first thing that I noticed right off the bat in this is how nervous he is, right? Like, he knows right off the bat what he's doing, why he was there, and he knows he has no explanation for it. And as you saw just in the brief explanation, like, he tries to say he wasn't aware of the Russian propaganda and the Russian outlets using his piece to their benefit, even though he engaged with those same accounts. He engaged with those same fucking hit pieces on Ukraine. So he knows he has no explanation here, which is why he kind of stumbles into, oh, it was satire, which, again, you'll notice he did not put on the whole Israeli propaganda piece that he put on there. Nowhere on that does it say satire or, fucking anything remotely like that. But that's the first thing I noticed, is just how fucking nervous he is in this. Look at him.
Because you had a massive amount of backlash from Ukraine.
And again, this is Nick.
But
on
why
the left.
didn't you put that in the original tweet?
Because that wasn't the idea of the original tweet.
Do you understand why people in this country are pretty pissed off with you?
One post does not define everything I did while I was in Ukraine.
Well, I think what you
and this is a piece from that. I'll just go back real quick. This is a piece on the left-hand side from his actual, I don't know what you want to call it. Propaganda piece is what I call it. He'd probably call it a fucking documentary, but I don't think it's even anywhere near deserving of that type of title. But here he just goes by like some nice cars in Kyiv, right? I think there's like a Tesla. I think there's maybe a Porsche or something like that. And he's doing this face like, where are the taxes going? Where's the American? Like, there's nobody wealthy in Kyiv that could afford those vehicles without the need or necessity for U.S. taxpayer money. Or like he has some fucking direct evidence linking the weapons and ammunition and shit that we were probably sending at this time. I forget the exact date of this. But again, Does he have direct evidence saying that the fucking weapons that we were sending over there somehow led to that fucking Porsche or Tesla or whatever the fuck? You know what I mean? So he just goes to like some obviously prominent street in Kyiv or wealthy street in Kyiv and decides to just show these cars like, oh, this is where your taxpayer money is going. Clear and obvious propaganda with no fucking evidence, nothing backing up. It's just ridiculous. It's like going through Boston or going through London or going through any other fucking New York City and just picking out a Ferrari or anything and be like, oh man, this is where fucking Russia's putting all their money, or you know what I mean? It's like, this is what the government's buying people in this city. It's like, what are you talking about, you fucking weirdo?
One post does not define everything I did while I was in Ukraine.
Well, I think what you were doing is to try and show that there maybe isn't a war in Ukraine. You were basically trying to ride this sort of Tim Pool grifter type wave, saying, pulling silly faces, smirking at the people of this country, saying, this is where your tax dollars are going. You cannot avoid that. That is literally what you did. Everybody agrees. Everybody in the comments agrees. That's what you were doing. Why can't you admit that?
Because I do not believe by making satire on the internet commits a crime by any means. And
okay, so
going back.
This is a huge revelation. So you were actually doing satire.
Right, which is the first time, again, you can see by his reaction that he actually tries to even say the word satire or even reference this piece as being satire. Otherwise, he was passing it off as actual fact, as actual journalism, as an actual fucking factual documentary. And again, engaging with the Russian propaganda, with the Russian fucking accounts that were using this exact piece that he was doing to justify their propaganda against Ukraine. So did he say to them, did he say to the Russian accounts that it was just satire and what you're using, you've been duped, right? Did he say any of that? Because I guarantee you won't go back and find any of Nick Shirley's fucking comments being like, hey, this is not true. This was satire. I was only joking. None of that. But you will find him engaging with the Russian propaganda and kind of amplifying what he calls this, this documentary.
In that post.
So it was.
He's so nervous. Like he is fucking shitting bricks right now.
Is there anything wrong with satire?
I know exactly what you were trying to do. You failed in doing it because you've received more backlash and more hate than support. And I guess now you're backpedaling.
I wouldn't say that.
What would you say then? Where did you go in East Ukraine?
Listen up.
Isn't Bucha East Ukraine? Or I went somewhere where there...
No, Bucha is not East Ukraine, you moron. So again, he does not know where he was. He does not know where he went. He does not know Eastern Ukraine from Western Ukraine. He does not know Northern Ukraine from Southern Ukraine. He doesn't know his ass from his goddamn fucking elbow, right? Like, I would not put it past this kid to wipe his ass cheeks every time he sneezes because he can't tell his fucking face cheeks from his ass cheeks. That's how fucking stupid this kid is. And the media wants me to believe that this kid broke some fucking massive fraud story all by himself. Well, it takes about 2 seconds of digging into that story to figure out that no, he didn't break a fucking thing. What he did was bring it back up in a certain timeline to kind of go along with what the president's rhetoric has been over the last month, 2 months. Not only that, but since he got into politics, if we're pertaining to people of color in general, if we're talking about immigrants in general, but more specifically, the Somalian community and the people in Minnesota. That's why he's bringing this back up. That's why this is being perpetuated by the right-wing media and all of the normal, everyday talking heads and big mouthpieces that you would expect to promote shit like this, right? And again, this is just the beginning of this. This is a 15-minute interview that Kalen has up on his Twitter, and I'm not sure if he has other platforms. I would suspect that he has other platforms in case you're not on Twitter still. But I would definitely, if you're interested and you're trying to figure out who this Nick Shirley kid is, and you've heard a lot about this Minnesota fraud case, I would definitely do the background investigating on who this kid is, what he's done before, what he's so-called reported on. This investigation, this interview, I should say, is, we'll give you some really good insights into that. But just for the sake of time, I figured would play the intro in it. I think there might be a couple more seconds there where he kind of gives him shit because Bucha is 15, 20 miles north of Kyiv, right? So very, very blatantly and apparently not Eastern Ukraine.
Was Bucha?
So Bucha is a 20-minute drive north of Kyiv. Where did you go in East Ukraine?
That's where I went. I went to Bucha. Is that not east of Ukraine?
Oh, God. It makes me despair that you've come here, you don't even know the difference between East Ukraine and somewhere that's a 20-minute drive north of Kyiv, and you've put out content that's genuinely extremely damaging.
And he's 100% right. The kid's 100% fucking right. It was used all over the place by Russia to, again, perpetuate this talking point that the American taxpayer money was being misused, was being misappropriated, was being stolen, right? And it went a long way to again, further their talking points. But again, let's dive into Off Your Wagon's. Let me see if I can dive into this. Where is it? Where did I put it? There we go, right here. Off Your Wagon's video, and credit where credit is due, because he does a great job. And again, if you're not following him, you can follow him at OJAW here on YouTube. I think it's Off Your Wagon on TikTok, if you're on TikTok. This was posted yesterday. It's got a ton of views on TikTok. For some reason, looks like YouTube's kind of been holding it back a little bit, so I'll be happy to promote it here on YouTube. But this is a great video calling out the bullshit of the Minnesota fraud allegations and basically how it's being misappropriated, being misused to hurt and denigrate and be harmful towards a, what do you call it? A less fortunate, a less able to kind of defend themselves population. So let's dive into this. And again, I appreciate Off Your Wagon for making these videos. He actually put out another one this morning regarding this as well. And if we have time, we can see if we can dive into that. But let's dive into this.
Oh my God, there's massive fraud in Minnesota. We were all going to die for it if it wasn't uncovered by some racist little mediocre subpar white kid who dates his mom, running around to daycare centers and trying to film children without consent. I cannot, with you freshly waxed bowling alley smooth level brain morons anymore. If you call Nick Shirley a journalist, I immediately question how you are legally allowed to live on your own without a babysitter. Nick Shirley's not a journalist. Nick Shirley is a weird little Mormon boy from Utah who's never taken a journalism class in his life. He never even went to college. The kid can barely read, let alone uncover massive amounts of fraud. And when I say he's a weird little kid who dates his mom, that's not a joke. His high school prom was canceled because of COVID, and so he did a prom at home with his mom. And we know about this because he made videos about it, and then a local news station wrote a story about it. And it's not just that. His mom, Brooke Shirley, who goes by Brooker T. Jones online, and the Honey Badger, which her son affectionately calls her, which is also weird, runs around all over the country doing this racist pretend journalism with him. It's a weird relationship, a real Oedipal arrangement, if you will. This breaking news that you morons keep saying, oh, why isn't all the mainstream media reporting on it, is because it's a 2-year-old story that they did report on, 2 years ago when it was breaking news, and Nick Shirley just plagiarized and then made up a bunch of wild shit about it. All
right, so that's the huge first fucking major red flag, right? So all you got to do is if you look at one fucking Google search and you type in anything related to this, you will find that this investigations, the prosecutions, the fucking arrests, the shutting down of a lot of these facilities for different reasons has already happened. It's already been discovered. It's already happened, right? It's already been fucking prosecuted. People have gone to jail, right? That's not to say that any, evidence or of more fraud that comes out that shouldn't be investigated, but that's not even remotely what's going on as far as Nick Shirley's fucking reporting or fucking investigation or whatever you want to call it. Has nothing to do with that. It's being brought back up at a specific time for a specific reason by a specific person and being highlighted by specific fucking people in a specific fucking party to corroborate and to, again, make it seem like the president in his racist comments that he's recently made had some fucking reason to make those, right? And again, this just goes along, this falls right along in the lines with what ICE has been doing, what DHS has been doing all over the country in terms of, the immigrant population, people of color, less fortunate communities, ripping people out of homes, schools, hospitals, courtrooms, you name it, their work, right? Doesn't matter. It goes right. So this gives them ample excuse now to use this as justification to send even more people in there to, again, harass, demonize, denigrate this community. So you can see how this is being used by the right, as for their favor, even though, again, a lot of this is old shit. It's not the fraud that they say it was. A lot of that has been, some of these places have been closed down for a long time for other reasons. And that was obfuscated. That was not reported accurately by any means inside of this ridiculous so-called fucking journalistic attempt at a documentary or like fraud exposition.
Investigation already uncovered all of this stuff. It's ongoing. Multiple people have already been charged. Some of them are in prison. There's zero connection to terrorism. It's not a Somali fraud ring because the ringleader, Amy Brock, was a white Christian woman. Somali people are not inherently violent. In fact, they tend to be super nice and loving people, which is part of the reason why Minnesota's violent crime rate is substantially lower than the national average. Many of the daycare centers, he says, are committing fraud and still receiving funds have already been shut down, and many of the people have been held accountable, and that's all public information. And part of the reason this happened at all was because Minnesota Republicans voted against additional fraud protection. Oh, and it's not actually a Minnesota problem. Just Minnesota took it seriously, found it earlier than other places, and started prosecuting those people sooner.
Honey, we still await Nick Shirley's long documentary on, say, I don't know, fucking the Medicare fraud by what's the guy's name? What's his name? Rick Scott? Was that his name? Fuck. I think that's his name, right? That fucking asshole. Yeah, that's him. That's him. That's him. Yep. So this guy, let me just throw him on the screen. There we go. There we go. So I'm awaiting, awaiting his documentary on that. If I could spell, that would be great. But you know what I'm trying to get at. Let's see here. We'll just bring this up real quick. Yeah, the Rick Scott Medicare fraud case refers to a major federal investigation and subsequent settlement involving Columbia HCA, the hospital chain that that the current U.S. Senator Rick Scott co-founded and led as CEO in the 90s. And what was the final thing on that? It was like billions, right? 1.7 billion. Yeah, the settlement reached in 2000 and 2003. Paid a total of $1.7 billion in criminal fines, civil penalties, and damages to resolve the allegations. So, I mean, if he's looking for a huge fraud to be reported on, that has already been reported on and talked about. Why didn't he pick that one? It's funny how he didn't pick that one. Why didn't he pick that one? Should have picked that one.
Knew about it sooner. Something they did under the leadership of Tim Walz, the person they're trying to blame for all of this somehow, because it's Somali people's fault, but it's also Tim Walz's fault. But Tim Walz isn't the governor of those liberal blue states like Texas and Florida and Arizona and Alabama and Ohio, where similar fraud schemes from the same taxpayer-funded programs are currently being uncovered. Where if Nicky Poo really wanted to be doing breaking news journalism, he'd be there knocking down their daycare doors. Those people are white, so they get a pass. By that, I mean literally, because Donald Trump has also just pardoned a bunch of people committed for the same type of fraud from places.
And again, that's another story that you can easily look up. The healthcare fraudster Philip S. Formez is latest Trump clemency recipient to be arrested. Goes along the lines of trying to, promulgate the war on drugs at the same time you're pardoning drug kingpins. Or, I don't know, saying you're the party of trying to protect children while also giving Ghislaine Maxwell favorable treatments after she's been convicted of child sex trafficking. How does that line up? How do you put that together with one thing as you go and put your head on the pillow at the end of the night as a Republican? I don't know. But I know that's not something I got to worry about being here on the left, because that's not something that I refuse to call out, and it's easily called out here.
Like Florida and Texas. See, because the reality is that this has nothing to do with fraud, because if it did, that little motherfucker, and I mean that literally, would have provided any independently verifiable information and citations to his ridiculous and outlandish claims. He did not, because they don't exist. What this was a long orchestrated and coordinated effort to demonize Somali people and to demonize Tim Walz for talking poorly about the Mango molester, and another thing to help distract from the fact that Donald Trump is in fact a pedophile in the Epstein files. And here's my investigative journalism to support that Turning Point USA was behind this blatantly racist and made up bullshit. And it's really not much, but it's way more than anything Nicky Poo had in his little YouTube video. First, this 2-year-old fraud case just started randomly making its way into more right-wing media fringe bullshit. And then in the few weeks leading up to Turning Point USA's Grievathon extravaganza, suddenly Brooke Shirley and Nick Shirley just start popping up all over the feeds with way outdated stories nobody would be paying attention to and just done poorly. Like it was objectively trash content. But it was all super anti-Somali and racist, like Brooke going out there and being like, oh, the Minnesota flag just got changed. It got changed back in 2023. And now it looks like...
Oh my God. I actually remember doing a story on that as well. And he's got a good video if you want to check it out, where he kind of calls out the hypocrisy and the bullshit of people looking at the new Minnesota flag, that they held a contest with Minnesotans to pick their flag, and it's like a flag that kind of depicts the shape of Minnesota. It also has the North Star, the colors of Minnesota. It couldn't be more Minnesotan if you fucking tried, right? And they're trying to say that it represents the Somalian flag, and it's ridiculous. Again, if you have eyes and you can see the difference in flags, you should be able to recognize the clear and blatant difference between them. So that's another one of ththese aspects that they're trying to lean on and, again, bring up from 2023, which I remember reporting on at the time, where they kind of had a heart attack and they all had strokes when the flag was picked to begin with. But now that's being brought back up for similar reasons. The same reasons to kind of dogpile on this aspect of what Nick Shirley was doing, to give more reasons for Republicans to demonize and denigrate. And, referenced in his recent video is the stochastic terrorist aspect of this, like the stochastic terrorism in this, where, how long will it take before a crazed Republican decides to take it upon himself to act on one of these, daycare centers because he's trying to, I don't know, quote unquote, protect children, right? Who's going to be caught in that fucking, that violent or, a suspected violent act or potential violent act? Right? I mean, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take a big stretch of the imagination to see, because we have fucking memories, and we can see in the past of things that have happened from Republicans that have taken steps, matters into their own hands because of words said by Republicans or Donald Trump in particular. Right? I mean, look no further than January 6th, right? I don't know, right? What's to say that wouldn't happen? What's to say that like the QAnon Pizzagate type of bullshit wouldn't happen, like he brings up?
The Somali flag, it doesn't. And to support this point, I had never seen the mommy-son duo before, and then I started seeing them everywhere. And you'll know this if you watch my content, because I made 2 videos debunking her bullshit in the span of a week. And it was all over every fucking platform. Almost like somebody was paying for views to prime people's
I gotta say, he must walk fucking 17 miles a day. He's already done 37,000 steps in this one video. I appreciate it.
To be ready to be like, Somali's bad. We know who this Brooke and Nick Shirley couple are. And then Nick and Brooke go to Turning Point USA's Grief Fest and rub shoulders with every other right-wing content creator out there, suddenly just getting their name and face all over the interwebs within those circles. And then immediately after that's over, suddenly this shitty-ass documentary where he just goes and tries to break down the doors of daycares to illegally filmed children just goes viral, which was, once again, more absolutely utterly trash content nobody would have watched unless it was being paid to get out there in front of people. And the timing just seems appropriate, because I don't think Nick is smart enough to set all this shit up. His mom damn sure isn't. And it just seems too coordinated, because then every single washed up right-wing influencer started reporting on it immediately, like same day, same moment that came out. So I can say with 100% certainty that everything that Nick Shirley reported is 100% false, racist propaganda. And I can say that I feel pretty certain that Turning Point USA is behind it. And I do think that it is absolutely hilarious that when trying to distract from the whole Epstein file situation, their brilliant fucking plan, was to have a white Republican dude run around and try to break into daycares to film children. It's almost as weird and creepy as the shit Nick Shirley does with his mom. He really doesn't do a great job helping to break that all Republicans are pedophile stereotype that we're all kind of getting these days. Anyway.
Well, I appreciate his report. And again, he's on the spot. He's in Minnesota. If you couldn't tell by the crackling of snow under his feet, if one would know, it would be him. So I appreciate the reporting that he does. I appreciate the fact that he called this out and he brings it to everybody's attention, that this is the furthest thing from journalism that you could possibly do. Not only that, but the fact that we need to continuously bring up his his background, his past, in doing propaganda in the past, not only with Israel, but also in Ukraine as well. And again, I would definitely advise anybody to check out his Kalen's interview with Nick Shirley on his Ukraine propaganda, and you can see him kind of cower in place and how nervous he is and how he knows he's caught. Right. But again, the money is probably too much. The billionaire funding on the right is too much. The lure of views and clicks, and having people applaud you for your work on the right is too much. So it didn't seem to deter him from doing propaganda in the future. But I just wanted to make sure everybody kind of, knows where he stays here. What's this one? Oh, but yeah, let me just show you this too, because you can just see how far it's spread. This is just an example. You can see DHS Minnesota fraud investigator going door to door, different outlets reporting on it. Minnesota Medicare audit with Eddie K. high risk claims. Minnesota adds extra review to high risk claim Medicare fraud. Minnesota DHS website crashes among daycare fraud accusations. So you can see how this has led to a different reporting. And then this was here on CNN. Trump administration targets alleged fraud in Minnesota after viral video. So they're actually using Nick Shirley's viral video as justification to send in, more troops, more fucking agents, harass more people. So you can see how this is being directly used by the right. It's like they put it out and then they use it themselves as justification to, again, break more laws, stomp on more rights, hurt more people, demonize more fucking populations. Let's check this out just a minute because I think they kind of show you a little bit of the footage too.
Internationally, the FBI and Department of Homeland Security are deepening their investigations into alleged fraud involving federal funds in Minnesota. Earlier today, DHS posted several videos on social media of investigators in Minneapolis inspecting what they say are suspected fraud sites, which include daycare centers.
Now, what the fuck does DHS have to do with fraud? Like, where in the jurisdiction of DHS? And again, I'll put my right hand up and rightly say I'm not a fucking, I'm not an expert on what the official role or the specific roles and what they can and cannot do are in the DHS and different law enforcement agencies. But I would suspect that like going after fraud and like fraud investigations wouldn't be something that DHS would be tasked with, especially right now where Donald Trump is supposed to have them be specifically tasked with removing violent criminals, rapists, and thugs from our country. But again, if I'm wrong, correct me. If I'm wrong, correct me. If that's something that they're, that they're typically doing, then please enlighten me. But just to the best of my knowledge, or with my brain, the way that my brain thinks, I don't know if DHS is really going door to door trying to uncover fraud allegations. Just kind of strange. But you can see what this has led to, and they're directly using this video.
And law enforcement correspondent Whitney Wild is tracking this development for us. And Whitney, what prompted the Trump administration to escalate these investigations?
Well, it does seem to be in response to this viral video. Right now, what the FBI is saying, it is surging resources into Minnesota. So
FBI, DHS, I'm sure more agencies to follow, using this quote-unquote viral video as justification to ramp up their activities, to ramp up the harassment of things that, again, was investigated, uncovered, investigated, prosecuted. People were locked up years ago, but now being used for the benefit of the Republican Party to again fit their narrative, to fit their agenda with what they want to do with brown and black communities, with immigrants in general. But again, I just wanted to show you that quick clip there on CNN to show you that, hey, just to let you know, that's exactly what they're doing. Not only do they use the propaganda and put out the propaganda themselves, but they then use that propaganda that they themselves propped up there as justification, as the reasoning to, again, stomp on more of your rights, to enact more of their Gestapo-like tactics on the United States in different, immigrant populations within the United States. And that's what they're going to continue doing if we don't continue to call this shit out and make sure that people know that not only is the information or lack thereof that they're trying to give you bullshit, not only are they misrepresenting the information, but also these people have been rightly called out as propagandists in the past. Right. So that's their history and what they've reported on and how they've reported on it in the past goes a long way to show you what you should look for and what you should call out in their reporting today. So that's what I hope to do here. But what do you say we dive into a little bit of this sit-down meeting? Let me throw this back on the screen here between Zelenskyy and Baier, if I may, because obviously after the recent meeting between Donald Trump and Zelenskyy, what we've heard from the Russian side as far as propaganda and accusing Ukraine of striking and targeting Putin's house, and then Donald Trump coming out and kind of trumpeting those same claims. We heard and saw how disgusted Zelenskyy was standing side by side Donald Trump when Donald Trump said multiple times that he believes Russia wants peace and that Russia wants to help rebuild Ukraine and wants to see Ukraine do good, which, again, couldn't have been more ridiculous and asinine a statement to make at the time, especially standing next to the president of fucking Ukraine at the time. But Zelensky's facial expressions said it all. Right. It was all he could do at this point from breaking out in fucking laughter at the ridiculousness of Donald Trump's assertions and claims. But, goes to show you exactly where Donald Trump's mind is at, where his headspace is at, and still who he wants to favor in this fight and who he's unwilling to put pressure on. So, again, I just want to play a little bit of this, if I may, to get a little bit of more insight. And then we can hop into, should I hop into, this actually might be a little bit, let's do this before. Let's do this before, because let's go into the numbers from the American people on the support that they have for Donald Trump and how he's been handling Ukraine. And then we'll dive into what Zelenskyy said, because I think this will give us some good insight into what the American people are feeling and kind of how you're not alone in this fight, again, if you're a supporter for Ukraine like we are here at Blunt Politics. So let's dive into just a couple minutes of this. Again, I'm never going to subject you through these whole videos. So just a couple minutes, and then we'll dive into a little bit of Zelensky's statements with Brett Baier, and then the I've had it ladies' response to the Zelenskyy meeting. And then we have a little bit of information about that alleged attack on Putin's residence. So don't go anywhere. Hit that like button. I really do appreciate you guys. Again, this is Harry Enton on CNN, just giving us some polling numbers on how the American people feel on the handling of the Ukraine situation by Donald Trump.
Zelenskyy giving new details on a possible peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine after his critical 3-hour meeting with President Trump at Mar-A-Lago yesterday. Now we're standing by for a phone call between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin that the Kremlin says will happen, quote, very soon. CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton is tracking how Americans are feeling about all of what we are finding out. What can you tell us about how Americans see this whole debacle, if you will, this war and the negotiations that are happening between Trump, Russia, and Ukraine?
Yeah, I remember when Donald Trump was running for president a year ago, right? He said, I think it was over 50 times, our dear fact finder, Daniel Dale, found over 50 times he said, I could end the war within 24 hours, or I could end the war before I even take office. Well, it turns out it didn't happen in under 24 hours. We're now over 8,000 hours into the Trump presidency, and the war has not finished, and Americans are taking their frustrations out on the President of the United States. It turns out it's far easier to yell from the bleachers than actually be the guy in charge. Because take a look here. Voters on Trump and the Russia-Ukraine war. You go back to 2024. Look, Trump was favored on this issue over Kamala Harris by 2 points. Look,
and again, that's back when Donald Trump was stating, hey, I'll have this thing done in 24 hours. He did that CNN town hall with Caitlin Collins where he kind of, went after her, and he said that he, just wants to see the fighting stop, and then he made the same claims. This is along those same lines. So he's +2, 2024, Harris versus Trump. And then now look at his fucking approval rating now. -20 points. Or if you look underneath, it says -29 with the independents, I believe is what the indies mean. I may be mistaken, but I do believe that's what it means. So almost 30 points underwater now. With his approval point to where he was when he was, again, promising the American people, promising the world that, all he had to do was sit Zelenskyy down, sit Putin down in a room, and he could have this thing done and wrapped up in 24 hours.
His net approval rating down, -20 points among independents. He is 29 points underwater. Americans trusted Donald Trump to do something much more so, or at least a little bit more so, than Kamala Harris coming into office. That is ending this war. He has not done so. He's had more time than he said he needed to end it, and therefore they're taking their frustrations out on him. He's 20 points underwater, his net approval on the Russia-Ukraine war.
Why is Trump so disliked on the Russia-Ukraine issue? Is it just about him not sticking to the timeline and saying, I'll get this done quickly?
No, I believe the American people, not only the American people, but also the people on a broader stage, on the world stage, can recognize that the treatment of Vladimir Putin by the president of the United States is totally antithetical to how we should be treating him, to past treatments of Vladimir Putin by past presidents, to how we're supposed to treat our enemies as opposed to our allies. They can see how we've coddled up to Putin, how we've given him ample time, opportunity, how we refuse to pressure him, how we put the pressure all on Zelenskyy in Ukraine to end this war. And again, that's why I believe the American people on a large basis have spoken to this extent.
Yeah, it's also about who he's favoring, or at least who Americans perceive that he's favoring in terms of the negotiation tactics. Look at this. In Russia-Ukraine war, Trump favors Russia too much. That's the winner right here, 48%. Strikes the right balance, 36%. Favors Ukraine too much. Very few people believe that.
The fuck, you guys are fucking drunk. You guys are drunk. Whoever fucking the 3% that says he favors Ukraine too much are drunk. And I'm sure you're drunk at like some KKK rally if I know you well enough. But Jesus Christ, what are you guys smoking? Get out of the meth lab, sweethearts. Get out of the meth lab. Let's take a look at reality here, people. Favors Ukraine too much. Jeez, they're in Florida. They're in Florida.
At 3%. You add together 3% and 36%. That gets you to 39%. That is well less than the 48% who say that Trump favors.
And again, that 36% falls pretty much right in line to a certain extent with the 30% kind of grip that Donald Trump has on the Republican Party. You know, that diehard cultish MAGA base that no matter what will go on and back and defend anything that he does, says, no matter what it is. So that strikes the right balance kind of crowd. That fits right in line with what we know about that. But the favors Russia too much. I mean, again, how often is it that 48% of Americans, again, depending on how you trust polling, not trust polling, or how much you kind of take this into account, really. But how often do 40% of Americans, or any poll that any of these people do, show that 40% of Americans agree on a certain subject?
Too much. So at this point, the American people say it's not just that the war's ended, they are disagreeing with Trump's tactics in this, saying that he is favoring Russia too much, which I think a lot of experts would agree with.
So that suffices to say, what are Americans feeling about Zelenskyy? You can almost guess from looking at this, can you not?
Yes, I think you can, exactly, which is Volodymyr Zelenskyy is far more liked by the American public than...
I mean, that's got to hurt Donald Trump. I mean, if anything is going to hurt Donald Trump, we know it's ratings, we know it's favorability, we know it's fucking how much people like him, how much people care about, like, that's got to hurt, bro. Like, if anything's getting some fucking ketchup stains on the walls at Mar-A-Lago or in the new fucking Epstein ballroom, like, it's gonna be this plastered all over. I hope Fox News puts this up. Please let Fox News put this up. But Zelensky's plus 12 among Americans. Net favorability among Americans, plus 12. Donald Trump's minus 14. Oh, Jesus. I love it. I just love it. Look at Putin's numbers, too. Why that's not even higher than that, I don't know. Right? But I mean, that's even something we could take from that, right? Because even less than the 30% of Donald Trump's cult-like base, going by these numbers here, have a favorable look at Vladimir Putin, right? So that'd be 27% as opposed to like the 30%. But that kind of falls in line with the MAGA revolt and the MAGA civil war that we've seen, and people kind of fleeing to other channels and Candace Owens and such. But this has got to sting. Please, this has got to sting. I hope we fucking take a picture of this and send it right to the White House, because that's going to sting for Trump.
Either Donald Trump or Vladimir Putin. Net favorability among Americans. Look at this. Zelenskyy, plus 12 points. That's pretty gosh darn good in this country that's pretty equally divided. Donald Trump, 14 points underwater in his net favorability. Look at Vladimir Putin, 73 points underwater. What is that? He's 85 points above Vladimir Putin. So Zelenskyy,
And
Trump.
While we're on the subject of Ukraine, I'm really hoping, and I don't know if I should say anything or not say anything, but I'm hopeful. So, fuck it. You know what I mean? It's for a good cause. So I'm hoping to, at some point in the near future, announce a partnership, a campaign with the 69th Sniffing Brigade that we could run here at Blunt Politics, that we could run here, on our channels, and kind of see if we could help raise money towards some vehicles, some trucks for Ukraine. That would be fantastic if, the Blunt Politics community could get involved, and we'll be hopefully making our own patches. And again, that's nothing set in stone yet. I've just kind of been thinking about it, and, kind of the ball has gotten rolling, so to speak. So I'm not going to put the cart before the horse, but hopefully within, the near future, we can announce some sort of partnership there, which would be really fucking cool if we could make some difference. I follow a lot of bigger channels that are also involved with the 69 Sniffing Brigade in the NAFO fucking clan. And they've done great work and raised a lot of fucking money. I know I'm not on their level, but any assistance that I could come up with, any way that I could help and contribute and getting vehicles and aid and whatever it may be over to Ukraine, Ukraine, then I am more than willing and happy and able to assist with. So again, hopefully that'll be coming sometime down the pipeline in the near future, which will be long overdue, if I might say so myself, in kind of trying to establish myself on that front. So I really do appreciate you guys and your support, and it's you guys subscribing to the channel that kind of gives me the ability to reach out to these different platforms and make a difference. And, you know, fucking the community that we've built here, and your support for not only Ukrainians, but also Palestinians and others all over the world that right now are facing horrible times. It's because of you that we get to hopefully undertake these endeavors. So I'll be giving you some more updates and announcements on that, hopefully, as they come. I'm trying to kind of work on what the patch will look like and stuff. So I really do appreciate you guys. So hopefully in the near future, we'll be announcing that. But yeah, that'd be very, very cool for, you know, all of us, or, you know, if we could get a lot of fellas in here as well, because I know you can kind of become a fella. All you got to do is kind of donate to places like United 24 or, you know, St. Javelin. And then you take that kind of evidence of you buying something, you send it into the 69 Sniffing Brigade, and you'll kind of receive your fellowship. You know what I mean? So it's a good play. Yeah, Jake Bro. Yep, I saw that go by. Who just said that? Yeah, Liza. Thank you. Lisa, sorry. Jake Bro does a lot of that. Yep. Preston Stewart's also involved. A lot of great content creators. I know Artur Rehi's also involved with them. He's done great work. So, you know, if I can, again, I'm not looking, obviously, to be as productive and make as many contributions as they're able to make with their large platforms and incredible fucking fans. But, you know, if any piece of the pie that I could fill in to help the Ukrainian people to do my part, I'm going to be totally happy to put in the work to do. So thank you guys. And again, it's only because of your support of the channel that we're able to, or hopefully able to, again, engage in these endeavors. So I really do appreciate it.
Dislike when it comes to Russia, Ukraine, and overall here in America.
Yeah, to be clear, it is Vladimir Putin who
I
started
know you guys are like that. I'm sure we got a lot of ideas. Lisa saying a patch with lobster claws. I've come out with one. It's not it's Boston based, right? It's Boston based, but it's more to do with my kind of old school love of World War II. Obviously very Ukraine involved, but I didn't want to make it too kind of cartoonish, you know what I mean? So when I get the approval, or when we go back and forth with the options, I'll be sure to do it. But you'll definitely know that it's a Boston based theme for sure. I'm not sure it's going to be as apparent as like a big lobster claw. That's all. I want to be respectful and kind of in line with the seriousness of the issue as well. So I appreciate it.
Even though he's tried to rewrite history, and Americans not happy to see that. Thank you so much, Harry Enden. I am always happy to see you.
Happy to see you.
Right. So again, just to kind of show you the numbers that the American people are kind of speaking about right now in terms of favorability, you can see Donald Trump again. I can't get enough of him being -14, while Zelenskyy in America is +12. Oh, you know, if I could be a fly on the wall when Donald Trump saw that number, it'd be fucking great. But all right, let's dive into this. Just a few minutes, and we'll see what kind of insights we get, what attitude, you know, how we can get from the what we can glean from the meeting between Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelenskyy. This is him sitting down with Brett Baier, and I do believe this was after. If I'm mistaken, if this was filmed before, my apologies. But to the best of my knowledge, this was after the meeting. So Zelenskyy gets candid about the state of Ukraine's war after talks with Trump. Okay, yeah, so that's what I thought. Let's dive into a little bit of this.
Joining us now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Mr. President, thanks for the time.
Thank you, Brad.
This is our 6th time sitting down together since the beginning of the war. This is a crucial moment for you as you had this meeting with President Trump. What's your assessment coming out of that meeting?
It was a very important meeting. I'm thankful to President Trump. Really, it was a very productive meeting. And in Mar-A-Lago, maybe another mood here, I don't know. But in any way, so our teams worked a lot.
It kills me to have to still continue with this, like, and I know it's rhetoric that he has to continue with, being the head of state, being the president of Ukraine, being a dignitary, you know what I mean? Fucking needing the help and the assistance of the United States to a large extent, right? So he has to kind of come out with this, you know, there was a great meeting. It was very productive. Does he really believe that it was a productive meeting? I'm going to fucking say no, right? I mean, judging by the facial expressions, you know, when Donald Trump was making the comments that he made, judging from Donald Trump, again, reciting the Russian propaganda that Zelenskyy denies about the attacks on the Putin's residence. Like, I have a fucking really hard time believing that Zelenskyy, after everything he's been through, all of the fucking bullshit that he's put up with different heads of state, different leaders all over the world, that he's not seeing through the bullshit of Donald Trump, right? I give him a lot more credit than that. But again, he's also smart enough, on the other hand, to know that he has to continuously put up this, I don't want to say front, but you know, that the political speak, right? The political jargon that normally comes from meetings like this, he still has to kind of keep up that appearance, right?
I'm very happy about the last a little bit more than 1 month, how our teams worked. Really, I'm thankful.
You talked in percentages and said at one point 95%, 100% on this issue. There's a 20-point plan.
Yes.
It is very detailed, but you are making significant concessions here.
It's a great point by Brett Baier, I gotta say. I mean, say what you want about Brett Baier, and I will not stop you from doing so, because you're probably 100% right for saying it. But, you know, we've seen in the past that people like Brett Baier were kind of, to a certain extent, the ones willing for the most part, to step up to people like Donald Trump when they were giving interviews and kind of push back. There was that one famous interview with Donald Trump that I made a ton of videos on for Midas Touch, you know, some of my more popular videos that I did for Midas Touch back in the day. But yeah, I mean, that's a great point made by Brett Baier, saying that, hey, it looks like here in your peace plan, you're willing to give up concessions, like you're willing to limit your military to 800,000, where you shouldn't have to, being the state that was attacked, right? You shouldn't have to do that, but you're willing to do that. You're willing to you know, talk about these territorial concessions, where again, you are the nation that was attacked, where you shouldn't have to even engage in those talks. Again, if you had the backing and support of the United States, like we should have. So again, Brett Baier bringing up, rightly so, that Ukraine is based in reality. Their negotiations and their 20-point peace plan is based in reality. They're willing to concede to certain things based on that reality, where Russia is not willing to do so. Russia is not willing to engage in the talks that are based in reality. They're not willing to engage in peace talks at all, you know, on a real level, while engaging in these strikes on civilian infrastructure night after night after night. So great point by Brett. Good to see that being brought up on Fox here.
20 points plan, and when I said 90%, it's true, because there are questions only with 2 points. That's why I said 90%. It's really 90%. It's very productive. Even with one question today, we've been very close, and I think we have problem with one question. It's about territories. Yes, this is a difficult question, but even with this, with the territories, even with the fact that
it's kind of misleading a little bit to say, to kind of bring that down to 1 point, to be like, oh, it's only 1 point that we disagree on, and that's territory, because that is a fucking massive, massive point of contention, right? That affects millions and millions and millions of people. It affects elections. It affects, you know, how people are treated. It affects who's governing them. Right. This is not just like one. It is 1 point, but it's not. You know what I mean? Like, it's 1 point, but there's like one A through fucking Z, and then it goes into the numbers afterwards of, like, you know, subsections. Right. So it's on one hand true and accurate to say it's 1 point, but it's a little bit misleading to make it seem like it's a point that either can be said yes or no to, or decided upon in a quick period of time that is not affecting, again, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people.
It's 1 point. We have different views with Russians. This is important, not with Americans, with Russians. And the United States understand the positions of sides, and they try to find a compromise. We spoke about different steps, and Ukraine demonstrated during these months these steps.
You say this is the most difficult part, settling the territorial disputes. And
I mean, again, that's a huge fucking point to highlight, is that it's the most difficult one. Even though it's 1 point, like, it still remains the most difficult aspect of these negotiations, and probably the most highly contentious point of these negotiations, and that has been the problem since fucking 2014. So again, are we any closer, really? When that is, even if we talk about 19 points that may have been agreed on, and that's the last one, are we any closer? Because it seems like the main point that has been the main point since the main point became the main point, in my eyes. Right. And I don't know if we're really any closer to that agreement.
Ukraine might be willing to withdraw from Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, the 4 provinces that Russia wants to annex, but only if it's approved in a referendum. that Ukrainians could vote on. Is that still the case?
I think that Ukrainian people has to vote.
That seems like a cut. Am I wrong? Does that seem like that wasn't a smooth transition there? Was that edited and cut right there?
Is that still the case?
I think that
Am
Ukrainian
I wrong? Just one more time. I apologize. I don't like when those like little cuts happen. I want to know what he said when he said it.
Referendum that Ukrainians could vote on. Is that still the case?
I think that Ukrainian people has to vote in referendum for the document, 20 points plan. We have a lot of documents. I'm speaking only about this document. Referendum gives.
And listen, I think he's very confident that the Ukrainian people will never in a million fucking years vote to hand over those fucking parts of the Ukrainian territory over to Russia, right? Why? Which is why I believe he's willing to even bring this up in talks and negotiations and interviews. Like, yeah, fucking go ahead. If you think the Ukrainian people will ever in a million fucking years vote to hand over that territory to the Russians, have at it. Feel free. Have a vote. Go ahead. Don't don't come knocking on my door when it's 100% to 0 telling Russia to go fuck themselves.
I mean, if it approves positively.
And that definitely was a cut, by the way. That definitely did seem like a cut. So I'm curious what his original thoughts were on that matter, because that seemed like there was a secondary answer, if not like just brought up in the middle.
That everything will be done and finalized positively. So if Ukrainian nation will approve it positively, it's a great success for President Trump because it's under his leadership. So what we have now, we have the question with the territories, and we can't. It's not about referendum or parliament or the president. We can't just withdraw. It's out of our law. We can't just withdraw from our territories. It's not only the law. People live there. 300,000 people live there. We can't lose just people. We can't go out because hundreds of thousands have been wounded. Dozens of them have been killed there. And so I said that it's not only about the law and also our army there. That's why we proposed, I think, the compromise. If we do free economic zone, that we have to move some kilometers back, it means that Russia has to make mirror steps some kilometers back. And this free economic zone will have specific rules. If we will decide, the decision will be about economic zone, something like this, referendum is the way how to accept it or not accept it.
If we look at the attacks by Russia into Kyiv, drones, missiles, you go back to the beginning of the year all the way through December, it has picked up significantly. There's so many more attacks towards the end of the year. Is there any indication that you see that Vladimir Putin wants peace by what he's doing or saying?
Me not, be honest.
Of course not. It's a dumb question. It's fucking ridiculous. I mean, it's like saying, hey, I know you saw last night that Russia sent over 500 drones and missiles into fucking residential territories and apartment complexes. But hey, just a quick question. You think he wants peace? I mean, I know we saw videos of women and children being carried out of apartment complexes that were on fire and burning after being struck by the Russian military. But do you think they want peace? I know you guys in Ukraine are only undertaking strikes on justifiable military targets in the military without actually engaging to a large extent, to the best of your ability, the Russian citizens. And they're doing anything but. They're doing the complete opposite on the Russian side. They're actually specifically targeting civilians, it seems like. But do you think they want peace? Like, shut the fuck up, Brett. I don't know if it's one of these questions that you think you have to ask. You already know the answer and you just want to get his kind of shit. But let's not beat around the bush. Let's stop playing stupid as journalists. And let's say, hey, why isn't it as obvious to Donald Trump as it is to you and everybody else on the fucking planet that Russia doesn't want peace, especially when we take into account the nightly fucking videos and pictures that we see coming out of places like Kyiv and everywhere else that Russia is striking on a nightly basis. Like, what makes you think, why do you think Donald Trump doesn't see it? Like, wouldn't that be an accurate and more accurate question, a salacious question, might get more fucking a better answer and maybe more clicks even? Like, you could kill two birds with one stone there. And again, I'm not a journalist, I'm not a reporter, but that would just be something that I would ask. Like, hey, why is it so obvious to me, you, and everybody else on the planet, but not Donald Trump, especially as we look at, again, the strikes on the civilian infrastructure in Ukraine? Done. Hey, done.
I don't see it because, first of all, I don't hear it publicly. His messages, they go... he doesn't speak about peace. Now he doesn't speak. He says that he can go further. It's not the signals of peace. So that's
That's 100%
why,
right.
we
I mean,
need
we've
dialogue.
heard more and more even recently about how the Russian goals will be fulfilled. That is the complete opposite of, hey, we want peace. There's nothing further from, hey, we want peace than saying, no, we're going to continue our military fucking war. We're going to continue this war to the end goal, which again is not even fucking remotely possible for them. But that's what they're saying.
Of and pressure from President Trump. Sanctions, dialogue, he has some instruments, and he's personally can do it, I think. And I think that he's trying to do it, trying to bring this peace.
But you listened to him, and you heard him talk about his call with Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
And he speaks positively about it. In fact, there was one point in the press conference where he said this.
Russia's going to be helping. Russia wants to see Ukraine succeed.
There was a pan over to your reaction, and you kind of had your eyebrows went up and you smiled a little bit.
Yeah.
You don't agree with that?
No, it's not about agree. I don't trust Russians, and they don't want. I mean, this. I don't trust Putin, and he doesn't want success for Ukraine. Really, he doesn't want. He can say it. I believe that.
But then again, what we're saying is that Donald Trump's a moron. Right. At the same time, you can understand, Brett, what's going on here. Like, he's laughing directly in the face of Donald Trump. That's exactly what's happening here. He literally almost burst out into laughter at this point. It's so fucking asinine. It's so ridiculous. He's dealt with it for so long that he's beyond angry. Like, it's beyond the point in where he's going to get angry about it. Now it's just like to the point of fucking being he's just going to laugh. It's just funny at this point that he can't fucking get it through his thick skull being Donald Trump, that Russia doesn't want any of the things that they claim they want, as far as peace or helping Ukraine or anything along those lines. So basically what's being said right here is Donald Trump's an idiot. He's reciting Russian propaganda and shit that nobody else on the planet believes. And that's the sentiment here being on Fox News.
Can say such words to President Trump. I believe in it, that he can say it, but it's not truth, really. He doesn't want to have from President Trump more pressure with sanctions and etc. And he can say that I want success for Ukraine and I'm ready to give them cheap electricity. Really, between us, we don't need cheap, this energy because we paid so great, this price, our lives. It's not about energy. We don't need anything from them. That's why I think it's messages for President Trump. Yes, to find a way how to communicate with him.
Yeah, the question was about helping with reconstruction after the war, and that Russia wants to help. And
they have to give.
How ridiculous is that, Brett? Let's bring up the ridiculousness of that statement. They're literally undertaking on a nightly basis more destruction. How does it make sense for them to be like, yeah, we want to help rebuild? Meanwhile, we're still lobbing missiles, rockets, and drones into fucking residential complexes, tearing down, multi-story buildings on a nightly basis. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? Are you going to live in reality or no? Are we going to open our eyes to what's actually going on and call out the people that rightly need to be called out for the ridiculousness of their, beliefs, their statements, their rhetoric, their inability to actually see what's happening on the battlefield in the intent of both sides?
What's money?
Yeah,
they can give us.
And again, speaking of intent on both sides,
for these,
not to cut him off, just for the sake of time, and that goes on. That's another. There's another, I think, 7 minutes or so in that interview, so you can go on and check on Fox News and check out the rest of that. But just to kind of dive into a little bit of the Russian propaganda and how they've tried to thwart the meeting between Zelenskyy and Trump. Here's just a little bit of it. Why the attack on Putin's palace doesn't add up. Right. And he actually has another one here that he did more recently where it's who really benefits from the alleged attack on Valdai Palace, which is what Putin claims or Russia claims that Ukraine tried to strike or tried to attack here. But and then we'll get to the I've had it ladies reaction. Maybe we'll finish on that. But let's get into here the Russian propaganda and how it was very well timed for Zelensky's visit in trying to disrupt and change the mindset of Donald Trump, tried to change the rhetoric from Donald Trump if, for some reason he was going to come out and start being a little bit more pro-Ukrainian after the Zelenskyy meeting. This was to combat that, and I think they did. They hit the nail right on the head because Trump came right out and started fucking puppeting these same claims. But this is the professor talking about how the claims from Russia do not add up as far as the claims of an attack on Putin's residence. Let's check it out. Oh, sorry. Let me put it on the screen. That might help. There we go.
Hello, my friends. It's Tuesday, December 30th, 2025. And yesterday, I reported in my three big stories just a couple of news articles where Lavrov was saying that Putin's palace
Again,
was
I've
being
never in my life heard anybody say his name that way. He's talking about Lavrov. Just in case you're wondering, Lavrov came out and said there was something. He came out and said some specific number of missiles or drones that were shot at the house, and that Russia shot them all down. Nobody was hurt. There was no damage caused. But they're going to basically kind of rethink their negotiating stance. They're going to rethink their stance on the war, basically, and trying to negotiate because of this supposed Ukrainian attack.
attacked. And I was thinking, that's strange. Well, we'll find out more about it, I'm sure, and see some footage and that sort of thing. And sure enough, there's nothing there. Okay, let's explain what's going on here. Putin said that overnight, Ukrainian forces attacked his residence in Novgorod Oblast with 91 drones. Before that claim had been published, Russian authorities reported this morning that they had downed 41 drones over the entire Oblast, and even less over that area around Novgorod. It was really
so somehow over the entire fucking territory of the entire Oblast, they only managed to shoot down 41 drones, but then later reported that 91 drones were shot down just over Putin's residence. Okay, no.
interesting. So that's why my mind was going, well, that's interesting. We'll see. Maybe it happened during the day or something along those lines. Nope, that's not it. Now, before we get to that big story, let's go over a little bit of what happened normally last night. This is unusual to talk about this kind of big event when I usually talk about drones overnight and what's going on the ground. Footage of the actual attack that targeted occupied Donetsk airport. The airport is used for launching and storing UAVs most of the time. So on the night of December 30th, the 414th Magyar Birds of the Ukrainian army conducted mass strike on a facility used for storage equipment and launch preparation for Shahed.
Wouldn't you know, another justifiable military target holding, I don't know, ammunition, weapons, drones, stuff that Russia uses to undertake attacks and to, continue to perpetrate this war on Ukraine. Not apartment complexes, not the city center of Moscow, not the city center of St. Pete, right? Not the city center of fucking Leningrad. Like, what are we talking about here?
And Garan UAVs at Donetsk airport. The targets hit Garan and Shahed logistics hub, pre-flight preparation and maintenance site, central warhead storage for Garan and Shaheds, and accumulation warehouse for Gerba UAVs, personnel and technical staff concentration point. Okay.
So again, all the reasons, every single one of those makes that a justifiable military target for Ukraine to hit. Every single one of those points, just to continue to hammer that home.
So that's what they were doing. This is what I would normally be talking about, but we just have to talk about this. It's just I can't.
It says, "What a miracle in an age when everyone has a camera in their pocket. Even in Russia, not a single person somehow saw or heard any quote massive Ukrainian attack on Putin's residence, which didn't even make it into the official daily military reports. Every Ukrainian strike on Russian airfields and oil refineries is filmed every night from tens of different angles, and yet the supposed assassination attempt on Putin magically appeared after the fact, just in time for a phone call between Putin and Trump." And he's fucking spot on, Ilya, as he usually typically is. And again, if you don't follow him, hopefully, I do believe he's on Blue Sky as well. So hopefully he does the same amount of reporting. We've been talking about recently how still people don't they don't post the same shit. If they're still on Twitter and they're on Blue Sky at the same time, they don't post the same thing to both sites, thus making it irrelevant or not needed to go onto Twitter to see it. But where they don't continue to post the same stuff, it's still like you still have a need to go in there and get news and information, which really sucks. It really fucking sucks. But anyway, he's spot on here talking about how this ridiculous fucking accusation here is not only well-timed for Putin and Trump's phone call, but the fact that, you can see pretty much every strike that Ukraine undertakes in some way, shape, or form, from some angle, from a Russian fucking citizen, from somebody working at the oil refineries that are struck, from some nearby CCTV camera, whatever it may be. But apparently, just magically, this 91 drone attack on Putin's residence, which I'm sure is outfitted with camera on cameras, just somehow didn't pick up any of the activity. None of it.
Not. Okay, what a miracle. In an age where everyone has a camera in their pocket, even in Russia, not a single person somehow saw or heard any massive
Again, I
Ukrainian
know I just read that. I won't subject you to it again. There we go.
Did anything really occur? Hundreds of drones shot down over Valdai. Nope, nobody heard a thing. Residents of Valdai in Russia's Novgorod region say that they noticed no attack at all. But 14 locals interviewed by the outlet, particular news outlet, tell a different story. 1, no SMS warnings. 2, no buzzing sounds. 3, no explosions. 4, no local chatter. Nothing. A local put it simply, if something like that had happened, the whole town would have been talking about it 100%. Yeah.
And again, this is from somebody local in the area, interviewed by the Mosem outlet there, talking about, hey, no, that's just, it's pretty much impossible for something like that to happen, and the town here wouldn't be talking about it. Nobody would have heard anything. Nobody saw anything coming. Like, there's no flashes of lights, no nothing. And you expect me to believe that 91 drones were shot down? Again, just more evidence to suggest that it's Russian propaganda, well-timed to fit in line with Zelensky's meeting with Trump and Putin's phone call with Trump. Just, I mean, if anybody can kind of, look back at any of the learnings, anything that we've learned from Russian propaganda over the years, this fits right in line with something that they'd try at this moment in time.
Of course, something would have been talking about it, but we're just making it up. That's what this amounts to. Sota is a Russian opposition newspaper. Attack on Putin's Valdai residence, presumably a Kremlin fake. Now, I'm not one to jump right to.
And it goes on to say here, as you can see, it says such an attack appears technically impossible. Airplane type UAVs used by Ukraine fly at low altitudes along an almost straight trajectory. When launched from Ukraine's northern border, the UAVs would inevitably cross specially protected airspace, see map, with strategic missile forces facilities, air defense units, military aviation, closed administrative formations like Zelenskyy, Ozern, and so on. A drone reaching the dinner residence by crossing those territories of these, and I believe it was going to say of defenses, of that level of defenses would be almost impossible.
This is pretty impossible, they say. Airplane type UAVs used by Ukraine.
He goes on to say a drone reaching the dinner residence by crossing the territory of these facilities could only do so by a miracle or through deliberate negligence by the military command. And then I believe he goes on to show a map here too.
Ukraine fly at low altitudes along an almost straight trajectory. When launched from Ukraine's northern border, the UAVs would inevitably cross specially protected airspace, see the map, with strategic missile forces facilities.
Let me see if he has any further information too, because he had this newer video that he put out. I believe that was yesterday, the one that we were just watching. No, that one was 5 hours ago, and then this newer one is only 2 hours ago. So it says who really benefits from the alleged attack on the Valdai. Let's see if there's any more information coming from that. Let me see if I can throw this, and if not, we'll hop into the I've Had It podcast ladies and their reaction to Zelensky's meeting with Trump and what they think is coming from that. And they also have a video about the Netanyahu meeting as well, but I don't know if we'll have time for that. But let's dive into this.
It's Tuesday, December 30th, 2025, and we're still talking about the alleged attack on the Valdai Palace that was an attack on Putin, or so the Russians say, without evidence, without any pictures, without any explosions, without anything. I unpacked all of that this morning. The question that I want to deal
and ready, while that's playing, I'll pull up the clip of Trump puppeting the these same claims
with now is who benefits. So let's look at who's going to benefit from this, because that'll tell us a lot about what's actually going on. And the propaganda value is immense if the Russians can pull it off. Okay, the attack on Putin's residence, who benefits from the provocations, says the Ukrainian Review, and they start to go into that kind of thing. Now, I want you to do this.
I got it right here. Let me throw this on the screen. This one here. Put this up. This is just where he kind of recites the same talking point after being, I believe, asked by a reporter. Yeah, you can play it. Here we go. Play it anytime. There we go.
The alleged strike on Putin's residence could scuttle peace.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's not good. I heard about it this morning. You know who told me about it? President Putin told me about it. Early in the morning, he said he was.
And you have no reason to
It's no good.
Sorry,
It's no good.
that gives you no reason to question that. You've done no, work in trying to research that with your own intelligence communities. Have you called the Ukrainians? Have you talked to the Ukrainians? Have you confirmed or denied with their intelligence agencies? Or are you literally just taking what Vladimir Putin, our clear enemy of the United States, is saying to you over the phone and reciting that to the fucking United States free press? Is that what you're doing? Standing next to a war criminal? That's for a different episode, I guess. But we really, no work was done behind the scenes to kind of, again, see if this was true or not. Was there any evidence to suggest this was true? Is there any video evidence? Is there any fucking satellite evidence? Nothing. No, you're just going to come out and stand in front of the White House with a fucking war criminal and recite the shit that Vladimir Putin said to you on the phone, much like you did in Helsinki. Well, Vladimir Putin said he didn't have anything to do with the fucking election interference, and I got no reason to think he would, even though my entire intelligence apparatus said he did. But Jesus Christ, I mean, you can see it here. Look at it. Just one more time. Here he goes, just plainly reciting something that Vladimir Putin told him on the phone. That, again, has not been corroborated by any extent. Again, the United States intelligence agencies should be able to tell us yes or no. In conjunction with talking to and speaking to the Ukrainians and their intelligence agencies. I don't think they'd be trying to fucking hide that if that's something that they undertook. But again, does he care to fact check that or care to corroborate it? No, he's just going to tell you what Putin said. There we go.
I heard about it this morning. You know who told me about it? President Putin told me about it. Early in the morning, he said he was attacked. That's no good. It's no good. Don't forget, the Tomahawks. I stopped the Tomahawks. I didn't want that. Because we're talking about, it's a delicate period of time. This is not the right time. It's one thing to be offensive, because they were offensive. It's another thing to attack his house. It's not the right time to do any of that, and can't do it. And I learned about it from President Putin today. I was very angry about it.
So again, Putin got his job done. His mission, his goal in this is complete. Instead of talking about how the Ukrainian people should be helped, and instead of talking about how Volodymyr Zelenskyy came and the Ukrainians are willing to put forth this peace plan, they're willing to make concessions, they're willing to again live in reality to try to get this peace, talk and these peace negotiations over with, to see peace in the area. But Vladimir Putin's not. Meanwhile, he's sitting there, talking about what Vladimir Putin's propaganda has put out, as opposed to how much the Ukrainians need help and how great a conversation they had. And that's exactly the end goal from Vladimir Putin here. That's exactly what he wanted to do and wanted to have. And again, he found a puppet. He found somebody that was willing to fucking be played, or is willing to be played, or is dumb enough to be played like that and manipulated on the world stage, right? So this is Vladimir Putin on the phone with the president of the United States saying something, and then literally sitting back with his fucking arms folded, feet up on a recliner somewhere, watching the television and watching the president of the United States go on national television to do his bidding. What better fucking access could Vladimir Putin hope for to not only the president, but also the United States media in trying to get his propaganda out there and having the president spread it for him? Because that's exactly what the fuck's going on right here. Exactly what's going on. He has every ability to, again, confirm this before he says anything. He could say, yep, I've heard about it. We have not heard yet on whether or not this is true. I know that's what he says, but until I see some detailed reporting and accurate accounts of exactly what took place, Ukraine at this moment in time says they didn't undertake that. So I'm more inclined to believe Ukraine in them saying that they didn't until, again, I see some more detailed evidence from the side of Russia saying that this did take place, which would be something that the president of the United States should probably say in this instance. It's fucking crazy, though. Crazy, though. Just wanted to show you that because that's literally the president of the United States doing the bidding, doing Russian propaganda, coming straight from the Kremlin, coming straight from Vladimir Putin's mouth, and straight onto the airwaves of American fucking TV, American press, right there. That's how that works. All right, let's just dive just another minute of this, and then we're going to dive into, oh, shit, I'm running out of time. All right, let's dive into this one because I'm kind of curious what their thoughts were on the whole meeting. Again, this is Jen and Pumps from the I've Had It podcast discussing the recent, they call it the Trump Can't Stop Glazing Putin embarrassing press conference has allies in disbelief. So let's see if we can get their take on this whole thing. and then I'll get you guys out of here after we thank everybody that was nice enough to contribute to the show via Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, whatever it may be, signing up for a membership, signing up at patreon.com. I'd like to recognize and thank everybody at the end of every show. So please, if you're in the financial position to do so, to kick in $1 or $2, please think about doing so. It helps the channel immensely, and it helps get us out there to other people. So I appreciate it. This is, again, the I've Had It podcast, Jen and Pumps, talking about Zelensky's meeting with Trump and how it was just utterly embarrassing on every aspect. Here we go.
Imagine being a leader of a country and your best hope to survive as a nation is pinned on Kanks, who is demented, sundowner hour, corrupt, and you have to
Somebody
go.
says nobody's talking about Epstein. No, there's that. People are talking about that New York Times article and like that recording that was coming out, apparently of Donald Trump yelling. I think it's behind closed doors, and the reporting from Marjorie Taylor Greene, who again has gotten real quiet. I don't know when she sat down with the New York Times, but she's been real quiet as far as on-camera appearances and talking about the Epstein files recently after getting bashed by MAGA. But again, there's this supposed recording that came out of Donald Trump and, what was said between him and Marjorie Taylor Greene, talking about how his friends would be hurt. So, yeah, there's definitely people still talking about that. There's people still digging through the files. But there's a lot of other things that are being reported on as well. Not everybody can dive into the same aspects. I'll wait till things are confirmed and corroborated, and then we'll continue on that. But yes, that's another one of the pieces being reported. Let me see if I can. I think it was this one right here that I had up already that I was going to show you. Some of these being talked about as well. Let me see. So you got the Trump
flights in
Epstein.
July
This
2019.
was, let's just play a minute of this.
Information and flights in July 2019 are part of the Epstein files.
Excuse me.
Attached to a grand jury.
So I think he reads it. I don't think this is the actual audio, but I think he reads it.
Sex trafficking ring.
So it says on the screen, this is from, I believe, that New York Times article. The reason for her lack of concern, Grease explained to me, might be the improbable to anyone who is familiar with how the mainstream press or the right-wing media cover the same story. The story to me was that I've seen pictures of Epstein with all these people, and Trump is one of several. And then for me, I'd seen that Bill Clinton is on the flight logs on his plane for like 20-something times. So for the people like me, it wasn't suspicious. And then we've heard the general stories of how Epstein used to be a member of Mar-A-Lago, but Trump kicked him out. Why would I think he's done anything wrong, right? And then it goes on to talk about how she says she overheard Donald Trump say, and I believe was it this story here? Was it this page or this page? How basically he's trying to protect his friends, represents everything wrong with Washington. Was it this next page? The account was sexually abused. It was one of these. Am I going to get murdered and call me a traitor? There's one of these here. Sorry. Yeah, my theory goes right at the bottom of the screen, as you can say. So Greene says she expressed her perplexity over his intransigence. According to Greene, Trump replied, quote, "My friends will get hurt." And this was in an apparent exchange between Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump that others overheard as well. This says Trump called Greene to voice his displeasure. Greene was in her Capitol Hill office, and according to a staff member, everybody in the suite of rooms could hear him yelling as she listened to him on speakerphone. Greene says she expressed her perplexity again over his intransigence, and according to Greene, his reply was, "My friends will get hurt." And again, before more people come out and kind of confirm or deny that reporting, that's out there. But again, lots of other aspects to this news story as well. So again, don't think for a second that because of one 2-hour show that doesn't focus mainly and heavily upon those things that we have been talking about for quite some time and highlighting to a certain extent to the best of our ability, like we did yesterday on the show, doesn't mean that nobody's talking about it. So there are definitely places and stories still out there, but nothing definitive, right? Like we're all waiting for that definitive kind of smoking gun to come out that says, boom, let's go. Or, these law enforcement agencies to start taking these, pieces of circumstantial evidence more seriously and investigate them to the ends of the earth. So again, until that stuff starts happening, it's more just kind of, hearsay and reporting on what people heard and said type of stuff. So let's put this back on. I appreciate you bringing it up, but I don't want you to think for a second that I've forgotten about it or not reporting on it or anything like that. But there are lots of things to cover, and again, that's why I do multiple shows during the week so that we can cover multiple different subjects. and we're not just beating down the same dead horse on every single show. So I appreciate you if you kind of understand that. And if you don't, I apologize. My apologies. All right, but let's get back into this again. The I've Had It podcast talking about Zelensky's meeting, and I appreciate you guys once again.
Imagine being a leader of a country and your best hope to survive as a nation is pinned on Kanks, who is demented, sundowner hour, corrupt, and you have to go kiss his ass at Mar-A-Lago to have any hope of taking.
Tom, what's up, big guy? What's going on, my man? Appreciate it. He's a big supporter of Ukraine. He's got a great t-shirt. I think I got it somewhere. Hold on for a sec. Hold on. If I may. I have it somewhere, I do believe. I should have had it ready. Oh, here you go. Tom, I was talking earlier about maybe my hopefully upcoming a partnership with the 69 Sniffing Brigade, which I'm sure you're familiar with. But Tom, as you can see by his logo there, has a great T-shirt and a great campaign and a great great benefit being run now to help the orphanage one. I think it's the biggest one, if I'm not mistaken. Throw it in the chat, my man. Throw all the information in the chat so everybody knows the links and stuff like that, so people can get involved. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you popping in. Appreciate everything you do for the cause, and hopefully we can. Hopefully we can make sure that we're raising money in all aspects for everybody that may need it. So, Tom, appreciate you, brother. Let me throw this back on the screen here. Thank you, dude. Make sure we put that up there. And here we go.
Back your country from Vladimir Putin. It is so stunning to me how desperate Zelenskyy must be that he has to go to Mar-a-Lago. And this is the response from Donald Trump regarding Russia and Putin, with Zelenskyy right next to him.
So in your conversation with President Putin, did you discuss what responsibility Russia will have for any kind of reconstruction of Ukraine post an agreement?
I did. They're going to be helping. Russia's going to be helping. Russia wants to see Ukraine succeed. It sounds a little strange, but I was explaining to the president.
No, it doesn't sound strange. It sounds idiotic. It sounds fucking ridiculous. You sound demented. It sounds like somebody that is sick in the head. That's what they would say. It sounds like somebody that is totally corrupted by Russian propaganda, totally corrupted by the opulence and the wealth of Vladimir Putin and the control that he has on the people in his country and the authoritarian rule that he has on his fucking military and the law enforcement agencies in Russia. Seems like that's more along the lines of why you'd be saying that, because nobody based in reality, nobody with a fucking a head on their shoulders with a brain inside their fucking head would ever say that Russia, while they're undertaking nightly strikes on, again, civilian populations, civilian infrastructure, non-military targets, that they want to see them rebuilt. Like they're going to help rebuild it at the same time. They're the reason it's destructed, like it's being fucking, ruined, it's sitting in ruins right now. In some spots, like, what are we talking about? You sound like an absolute moron.
President Putin was very generous in his feeling toward Ukraine succeeding, including supplying energy, electricity, and other things at very low prices. So a lot of good things came out of that call today, but they were in the works for 2 weeks with Steve and with Jared and Marco and everybody.
Okay, let's take a cutaway now and let's show you Zelensky's reaction as Trump is saying all this bullshit.
Wants to see Ukraine succeed. Once it sounds.
So if you're listening, listener, he
is that my video? Hold on 1 second. Just a second here. It's just a second. 1 second. And again, not that it matters really, but I want to share this tab. Doesn't that look like? Is that my cut?
I do. I think he is.
What? Here, I'll go to the. Oh, where is it? I'm going to go to the end. Is that my Zoom cut that they used? Hold on. And I know I'm kidding. I'm sure it's not, but I'm only kidding. I did a similar Zoom cut. But check this out. Almost looks very similar to where I zoomed in. Wanted to end, you brain dead fucking moron.
Russia wants to see Ukraine succeed. Once it sounds a little strange, but I was explaining to the president. President Putin was very generous.
No, but it'd be cool to think that the I've Had It ladies, they use my supercut, so I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with it.
It flutters his eyes. But I think poor Zelenskyy, like the fate of his nation is on this guy who's so clearly compromised by Putin.
Yeah, I mean, over the last few days, Russia attacked residential buildings.
Yes.
Okay. And the United States of America has.
I mean, and I love you to death, but not just over the last few days here. Let's not try to break this down into like short term. Over the entirety of this war, Russia has been perpetrating violent crimes, murders, rapes, kidnappings upon the civilian population of the Ukrainian people the entire fucking time. And I'm sure there's reports that we could look at since 2014 and the little green men started infiltrating their asses into fucking Crimea. Shit like this has been happening, if not since well before that as well, right? So let's not make it seem like this is something new. Love you guys. You do great work. But again, maybe I can kind of take over the Ukraine territory for this one. But this has been going on for the entire, I mean, don't forget when they were stealing washing machines and dishwashers, right? And we were watching them shoot the people on the streets of Bucha. And we were watching them hunt down the people in Mariupol. And in several other instances in towns and villages all over the eastern portion of Ukraine, right? I just wanted to make sure that we're not fucking saying this is something new or something that Russia hasn't been undertaking the entirety of this fucking full-scale invasion and even prior to. Just want to make sure that we're making that point here.
Proven that they're okay with this, with the blank check to Netanyahu. And we're seeing this complete realignment of where the United States foreign policy used to be. And now we're aligned with all of these two-bit dictators that are incredibly dangerous, that prefer an oligarchy form of an economy. And the fact that that Trump is doing this doesn't surprise me. There's, in my opinion, a lot of evidence that he's compromised by Vladimir Putin. The people surrounding Trump are loyal to only Trump and will do whatever. And I would imagine Putin, with all of his machinations, I would imagine that he has compromising information on the other people surrounding Donald Trump as well.
I don't know if he needs it. I don't know if he needs it. He's got Steve Witkoff quite literally coaching the Russians on how to get the best out of the negotiations, how to manipulate Donald Trump. He's got Donald Trump quite literally repeating word for word the lines that Vladimir Putin feeds into his ear in a phone call to the American press. Why? He doesn't need the dirt. He doesn't need a piss tape. He doesn't need compromise on him, right? I mean, this is probably another one that people should be fucking up on too. The Craig Unger book, American Compromise, right? So this is the House of Trump, House of Putin, how the KGB cultivated Donald Trump and related tales of sex, greed, power, and treachery. I don't think they need it. Donald Trump is that fucking ignorant. He's that willing to go along with Vladimir Putin. He's so willing and wants to, to emulate Vladimir Putin and the control that he has over the Russian fucking people. They don't even need the compromise at this point. He's literally verbatim reciting the propaganda from a phone call with Vladimir Putin to the American press without any fucking conference with his intelligence apparatus, right? With no fucking second call to the allies that were allied with in this fight. Just straight out into the fucking White House front lawn, right next to a war criminal, another war criminal, I should say, in Benjamin Netanyahu, to corroborate, to recite what Vladimir Putin said to him on the fucking phone, and that what Ukraine has already come out and denied they have responsibility for. And there's no evidence to suggest whatsoever to prove that attack was undertaken. They don't need it. They don't need it. Compromise, it's good. It's good if they ever do need it. It's good when they can use it on a president that is, putting up a fight against Russia, but they don't need it in this fucking stance. You only need that when you need leverage over somebody. They have the leverage. It's already there. They can keep that in the safe in the Kremlin basement and wait for a rainy day, apparently, with that one.
And so my thing is, and this is weird to say as an American, is the European Union has got to get completely separated from American foreign policy, because we have proven to be a partner of Russia. not of Ukraine, not of democracy. The United States of America foreign policy is pro-Russia.
I agree with you. And I think it's interesting you say that about
we
what
proved that to a large extent, that not only people here in the United States recognize that, but we also tried to play news agencies and organizations from outside of the United States. We listened to LBC over in the UK. We looked at some of the, some of the Australian networks, some of the networks in Canada as well, when it was, when the Trump administration announced their new foreign policy, the national security kind of policy that they had come out with, and the shit that was in that, and how pro-Russian it was, how anti-Ukrainian it was, how anti-European it was. Right. So it's not just people in the United States that don't like Donald Trump that are kind to like hop on him. It's people all over the fucking globe that are like, okay, this is a direct and immediate change, a role reversal and a change in direction, a drastic change in direction by the United States and how they're going to treat people on the world stage and who they're allied with, who they're partnered with, what their economic partnerships and trades are going to look like in the future. Again, we've heard about this willingness to allow, again, Russia back into the G8, these economic fucking partnerships that they want to have with the United States, the new trade deals that Donald Trump's been talking about with Russia, and how much money we could make together. You don't need to look any further than that type of rhetoric to see that it's more about profit, it's more about power, and then it is about, again, democracy, sovereignty, helping our allies, defending Ukraine, them giving up their nuclear arsenal if for the security guarantee by the United States in the event that this ever happened, which it did. And now again, we're pretty much fucking reneging on the promise to back them in this fight to the fullest extent that we possibly can.
Surrounding the people surrounding him and what Russia has on them, because if you remember, Ghislaine Maxwell told Todd Blanche in that interview, oh, Trump didn't do anything wrong, but a lot of people on his cabinet did. So, I mean, this corruption starts at the head of the fish all the way down. And I'm with you. I'm like, Zelenskyy has to know this is a fool's errand. He has to know that Trump is always going to side with Putin because he has done so the entirety of his president. And I agree with you. When is Europe going to say, fuck you, United States? You can't do this anymore. You want to be with Putin? Fucking have him. Because they seem...
And as much as I think we know he can say that, based on what Donald Trump's actions are, it's just, there's no way to, as a head of state, as the president of Ukraine, where Volodymyr Zelenskyy come out and say, fuck the United States, fuck Donald Trump, right? We don't need you type of aspect. Again, which is why he knows he's being smart. He's got to play the game because who knows what happens to Donald Trump health-wise, right? Who knows what happens when Donald Trump leaves office, if that's what takes place. I mean, if this is still going, then he's still going to have a continued relationship. And if not Zelenskyy, then the next successor and his people are still going to have a good relationship with the United States. And he knows this, right? The Europeans know this. So again, they're trying to do this on one hand, kind of, play to the emotions of Donald Trump, while they also do recognize that, it's kind of a fool's errand. Like we were saying earlier on the show, like Zelenskyy at this point is just laughing in Donald Trump's face at this point. And maybe, who knows, Donald Trump's so erratic that maybe in one of these fucking meetings, something does snap. Nobody knows, and he's so unpredictable that maybe they do get some more fucking Tomahawk missiles or whatever it may be. You know what I mean? It's always worth a shot, I guess, with somebody that fucking demented in the head. You never know, but he's got to play the game. It's the United States power on the world stage more than it is just the actions of Donald Trump, right? It's a bigger game when you get to that kind of level on the world stage.
To be in alignment about that, because Zelenskyy is sitting there trying to kiss his ass. Trump has not put forth anything
I don't think he's kissing his ass by any means. I think he's saying the typical political jargon, the typical political rhetoric that comes from these meetings that he knows he kind of has to put out there, right? In order to avoid the situation that we saw in the Oval Office before, where Donald Trump didn't think that Zelenskyy was being apologetic enough or thankful enough or didn't wear the right suit. We all remember that debacle, right? So I don't think he's kissing his ass. I think he's playing to, again, what we all know about Donald Trump, where he's easily manipulated, right? All you do is give him credit for certain shit, tell him he's doing a fucking great job here and there, and maybe, hopefully, it results in some sort of benefit to you, because, again, if you don't do that, you're getting no benefit. But it's at least worth a shot. And I think that's kind of what Zelensky's seeing, what the Ukrainian delegation is seeing in coming over here. Like they obviously know the importance of the United States, the power of the United States. But again, they also on one hand know that it's probably not going to be any benefit knowing that Donald Trump is in the White House right now. That's the problem.
Says there will be a ceasefire or parameters for peace in this region. All he wants to do is talk about his complaints and his gripes about how the war would never have started if he were president. I could not believe my ears. Here we go.
If the election weren't rigged and stolen, 2020, you wouldn't have had this war, would have never happened. And it didn't happen for 4 years, never was even thought to happen. And I spoke with President Putin. I got along with him very well.
Again,
despite
just totally fucking rewriting history, not even looking back on the fact that in 2014, and again, the little green men, and we can talk about the full-scale invasion in 2022, but if you talk about the full-scale invasion without talking about the history prior to that, and even before 2014 and the infiltration of the Russians into the Ukrainian fucking government and society and the corruption perpetrated by all of that, right, then again, you're not doing the entire story any justice. If you're just going to look at that portion, then again, you're just being ignorant, willfully or mistakenly.
the Russia hoax, which was a total hoax.
How about that? I mean, I get along with President Putin very well, and he just has no clear peace plan. He sits around talking about his 8 wars that he's...
Well, that's not even the craziest part of that, I don't think. I think the craziest part, he's quite literally standing next to the president of Ukraine, actively engaged in a fucking full-scale war with the person that he's commending and he's complimenting at the same time. That's the fucking crazy part. That's what's wild, right? Like, he said all that shit before. He said it before. The whole point is he just had a meeting where Zelenskyy, you can guarantee, drilled home how difficult it is, how fucking many people are being killed, the people left without power and heat, how fucking, again, and then this is what's coming out of that. This is the rhetoric coming out of that. It's all Russia. Me and Putin get along. It's like, what the fuck, dude? Jesus Christ.
Saved and all of those things. But at the end of the day, when he was asked about parameters for a ceasefire and a peace deal, Kylie, will you play these 2 clips?
And we'll end on this clip, guys.
Steve and with Jared and Marco and everybody.
Did Russia agree, or did Putin agree to a ceasefire to allow a referendum to take?
Not a ceasefire. And that's one of the points that we're working on right now. No, not a ceasefire. He feels that, look, they're fighting and to stop, and then if they have to start again, which is a possibility, he doesn't want to be in that position. I understand that position.
I'm sorry, what? What was that fucking sentence? He doesn't want to have to start and stop and start and stop. What is it? It's difficult now to stop firing your guns. It's difficult to stop putting up drones. It's difficult to stop putting up missiles. What the fuck are you talking about? You don't understand anything militarily. You don't understand anything about history. So what in God's name makes us believe that you understand that position that isn't even a position in the first place? Makes no sense. What?
He feels that, look, they're fighting and to stop, and then if they have to start again, which is a possibility, he doesn't want to be in that position. I understand that position.
What?
The president feels strongly about that or something, but I think we're finding...
The president feels strongly about that or something. Or something. Or something. Or something. Wow.
Feels that, look, they're fighting and to stop, and then if they have to start again, which is a possibility, he doesn't want to be in that position. I understand that position. The president feels strongly about that or something, but I think we're finding ways that we can get around that. But I understand President Putin.
What the fuck was that What was that sentence? What the hell just happened? Those were words. I do recognize the words. They were English, but I don't know in that order that they mean what he thinks they wanted them to mean. I'm not quite sure. What? Gramps? Come get him. Come get your Gramps out of the home. He's in front of the camera, guys. Uh-oh. He found his way onto the fucking press booth. Like, what does that mean? What are you talking about? He doesn't want to have to stop shooting because then he'd have to start shooting again. And you understand that aspect, even though it's like, what? Just absolutely awesome. All right, we're out of time today. I really do appreciate you guys. Again, there's probably going to be a lot more coming out on all of this stuff, as there typically is, as more and more reporting comes out. So I'll be happy and more than willing to bring you guys the updates, the news on any portion of this. Again, just to kind of recap today's show, the new reporting coming out about the CIA drone strikes earlier in the month on the Venezuelan ports. We talked about debunking the Nick Shirley, Minnesota Somali fraud claims that, again, is just being repurposed and repackaged for a specific reason that the Republican Party is widely known for. Not only that, but you can do some research on who Nick Shirley is in his past as well. Sorry, I meant to be putting that on the screen. We talked about Donald Trump's poll numbers in terms of Ukraine and how Volodymyr Zelenskyy is much more liked and favorable in the United States than Donald Trump is. We also looked at the sit down between Zelenskyy and Brett Baier. And then we just finished on some of the I've Had It podcast ladies' thoughts on the meeting, as well as diving into some of the false reporting, not only by Vladimir Putin, by also Donald Trump reciting Vladimir Putin's propaganda on the phone call to the American media. So once again, great show. I appreciate you guys. Wish we had some more time throughout the day. That's why I believe at some point we're going to have to add a Monday show. There's just too much going on, too much happening, too important going into midterms. There's going to be elections to talk about. There's going to be candidates to talk about. We're going to hopefully have Ken Casey from the Dropkick Murphys on next week. Hopefully we'll have some announcements as it pertains to the, the partnership, the campaign with the 69th Sniffing Brigade and the fellas over there. And yeah, some good things to come. Hopefully some good contributions, ways in which we can help people and make a difference. And I can only do so with the help and the subscribing, subscribe to the channel all over the place, whether that's on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, which one am I forgetting? Instagram. Please make sure you sign up, subscribe, go over to Substack, sign up for the Substack. It's 100% free. In case anybody's wondering, there's no charge on any of those platforms for any of my content, nor will there ever be. Hopefully, unless I'm find myself in a gutter one day. I hope to do this the correct way, and the correct way, I believe, is with the backing of the chat, the backing of the fans. No financial backers, no billionaire backers, no big donors behind the scenes that nobody knows about. I'm not going to be giving you ads that I'm selling you certain products that never changed my life, but I'm going to tell you they did. That's just not what I'm about. That's not what I like. I don't like when other channels do it. I don't like when other channels hide their content behind paywalls, because I know you guys have been here for a long time, a lot of you, and you shouldn't have to come out of pocket to see my content. That's just how I feel. So, but if you're in the financial position to do so, and you do have $1 or $2 where you can kick in and contribute to independent media creators like myself, then I would please ask you to do so. Again, Venmo up here in the corner, probably the best and easiest way to contribute to the channel. You just send in $1, $2 at the most. Anything above that is totally up to you guys. And that, again, goes a long way to help the channel. Let's get into thanking some people. I dropped my phone early, and there it is on the floor. Let me see if I can get into the Venmo, start thanking some people, and then we'll thank the everybody that contributed here on YouTube. So I really do appreciate it. Let's get to the home. So Peter, thank you so much. Peter, he says, Lobsters of the World Unite. Thanks, Brian, for all you do. From Fuffa Flipper. Well, I thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. Hopefully I'm not outing you as far as names are concerned. I try to be as careful as possible. I apologize on that one if I messed up. But thank you so much, Flipper. I do appreciate you. Roxanne, thank you so much for the 5. Thank you so much for the, the lobster, the heart, the middle finger to Donald Trump, the orange, the chicken, and the lollipop. I really do appreciate that, as well as people that have contributed over the last couple days, like Jenny Faye. Thank you so much for the 20. Yakov, thank you so much for your contributions. It continues as well. I think there was a couple more. Yeah. Robert, thank you so much. And Jenny Faye again, and Moms, thank you so much. And Tom, thank you so much. So let's get into thanking everybody here on the old YouTube side of things. Carol was first to kick it off. Thank you so much. Happy whatever day it is. Hang in there, lovely people. We got this, damn it. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your passion. I appreciate your enthusiasm. Let's fucking go. Thank you for watching here at Blunt Politics. We appreciate you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mark. Let's go, Mark. I appreciate you, brother. Good to see you every show now. I do appreciate you for the one gifted membership. Make sure we're thanking Mark and everybody else that's contributed to the show for their contributions. Mark, again, for the $2, invade Venezuela for a Nobel Peace Prize. Right? I mean, that's kind of the hypocrisy and like the way in which MAGA type, like their brain works. Like, let's invade and kill and like, you know, let's conduct war so that we can get Donald Trump a peace prize. Because that's how it works. That's how it works. But you're right. I appreciate you, Mark. Thank you so much. Dame Dog gifted a membership. Thank you, brother. Good to see you, my man. Hope you're well. Thank you for your contributions and your passion here for democracy. Thank you, Rachel. Did you see Kaylin's video confronting Fidici? I didn't see that. Again, I know there's a ton of great creators out there. I haven't been too up to speed. You know, right hand up. You know, accountability where accountability is. I haven't been too up to speed on his content. I've seen a couple clips here and there, but I have not seen the overwhelming majority of his content. I'll have to check out more of that. I really do appreciate you guys for kind of getting me up to speed on him, you as well, Rachel. I appreciate that. Thank you, Barkley. What's up, B-Man? Appreciate you, man. I love your passion for speaking truth to power. Keep up the amazing work, B. I shall try, and it's only with the help and the contributions of you guys that I will have the platform to do so. So, B, thank you so much for being a part of the backbone of this community and making sure that I have a voice and a platform to make sure that I spread my voice. So thank you so much, Mark G. Again for another 5. Shirley Satire, don't call me Shirley. What did I tell you about calling me Shirley? Mark, I told, don't you call me Shirley. Just kidding. Shirley Satire or Russian propaganda. There is such a fine line between sellout and stupid. Well, he knows, again, it's not that difficult to know what will be useful on the right. It's also not difficult to find out there's a lot more funding on the right. There's a lot more billionaires that are willing to put up a lot of fucking money while also not taking the credit for it, while making it seem like it's a grassroots type of cause, right? So not only that, but the amplification of your accounts on places like Twitter by Elon Musk and all these other fucking right-wing accounts, like it's very lucrative for them. So they know if they can go over and talk about, the Palestinians in a bad way, if they know they can go over to Ukraine when the whole Republican aspect was talking about the money and the aid we were sending to Ukraine and how it was being stolen and corrupt and all that, then he knows that will be picked up by these platforms, picked up by right-wing media, amplified, and then he'll be able to get something off the back end of that. So it's not difficult, whether he's stupid or a sellout. Like, he's smart enough to know that he could benefit from it, but he's just not. He's also a sellout. He's also stupid, but he is also just that smart enough to know that he can manipulate the people on the right to get some fucking financial gain out of it. And he knows the ways to do it because he's done it in the past multiple times now. So, please don't call me Shirley, Mark. And I mean, it's definitely that satire. You can tell that satire moment kind of came to him as the interview was coming. I don't think that was like a pre-planned kind of excuse that he had. So I don't know. You can definitely tell it's a propaganda fucking aspect to it. Absolutely. But I appreciate you, Mark. Thank you. And I'm only kidding about this Shirley. I hope you know I'm sure you know it's an airplane reference. Anyway, Mark, again, Shirley is third in the list. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. Blue State Champion, how are you? Thank you so much for your contributions. We don't have to bankroll our own destruction. Stop giving your money to corporations and shift consumption to local indie businesses. No problem with that. Absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. I think that's a great way to go about living life. I know helping independent businesses and smaller businesses and family-run businesses has been a bigger aspect to people's lives as we now see what capitalism is really doing to society. So I appreciate you, Blue State Champion. I appreciate your message, and I absolutely concur with supporting more local and independent businesses like that. So appreciate you. Thank you for the contribution. Thank you for being here. Good to see you. Kyle Jacobson, what's up, brother? What's going on, my man? Thank you for being here for 21 months. Very much appreciated. Thank you for your loyalty here on the channel. Goes a long, long way, and we very much appreciate it, dude. Thank you so much. Rachel, leaders from PK, India, and what was that? Pakistan. Why am I blanking on what IN is? Leaders from Pakistan, blank, and UAE parroting Putin line. What's IN? Hit me in the chat real quick, because I know I'm already over. What's IN? Anybody? Rachel, you here? Bail me out. Anybody? What's IN? India. Oh, gotcha. Oh, what an idiot. What an idiot. All right, Jim. All right. Let's not fucking hop on the guy with multiple concussions here. No, I think it's India. I think she's right. I mean, I think Jim's right. I think D8 is right. I think everybody else is right. I think I was wrong. But yeah, you're 100% right. And I do appreciate you, Rachel, for bringing that up. But yeah, I mean, you can also see how willing Russia is to, get in bed with Netanyahu. I mean, you can see who they want to favor on the world stage. You can see who they want to partner with. And it's not good people. It's not fucking good people. So my apologies for being slow on the IN. That's my bad, Rach. Thank you so much for your contribution. Mark, help Ukraine more authoritarianism. Just say no. Amen to that statement as well. And I plan on doing as much as humanly possible to help the people of Ukraine. Jim says the net favorability. So the true percentages are even higher. Net just means the difference between the pros and the cons. Right. You're 100% right. I believe we were talking about the as it relates to Donald Trump's polling numbers on the Ukraine war. So I appreciate you, Jim. Thank you so much for the 5. Appreciate you being here, my man. Let's see who's next. Alien Boy, what's up? Brian, you should do polling on your channel. Snap polling is good too. I don't know if there's like it just wouldn't be that big of a sample size, right? Where you can truly gain anything from it. I'm very appreciative of the base that we have here, the family that we've created. You know what I mean? Because you see those people do it on Twitter all the time, and it's like, oh, you have 13 people voted, and they're like, look at the American people think this. It's like, what? You got 13 fucking bots on Twitter that voted. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you're really discerning too much from that poll. But maybe at some point when we get, a ton more people hopefully watching live or, just watching the show in general, we could have, polls out there where we could get a little broader consensus on what people are feeling. I just don't know if it would be because it's kind of spread throughout platforms. You know what I mean? There's just not a ton of people watching on any particular platform where you'd get that instant reaction. But I do appreciate the suggestion and definitely something that we'll look at in the future. I appreciate you, Alien Boy, and I thank you so much for the $5 contribution. Thank you, Jen. Stop the resurgence of the USSR. Amen, because that's exactly what Putin wants to do. He's been very explicit about that. So we appreciate you. Congratulations. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for being one of the mods. We appreciate your help here. Thank you, Rachel, as well. Good to see outrage from the UK, RE Reform, and Russia. Right. I mean, there's also been a lot. I don't know if you've heard recently. I've seen an uptick in TikTok type videos and people calling into LBC and different type radio shows where they're kind of shitting on their own country and they're doing the pro-Russian propaganda where it's like, oh, if the UK gets into a war with Russia right now, we'd be screwed. And it's like, well, you're kind of taking it in the aspect of if the UK were to fight them alone, which again, it wouldn't be. It would be in coalition with the Ukrainian military. It would be in coalition again with, I'm sure, a lot more countries if it got to the point where the UK would be actively involved, boots on the ground militarily in Ukraine. So it's kind of stupid how people aren't taking that into account. But there's a lot more people I've seen, the more like Tommy Robinson type of fucking clowns out there being like a lot more pro-Russia. But it is good to see from the more normal, level-headed people in society their pushback against Russia. And there's been a lot more actually on James O'Brien's channel. There's actually a good caller just the other day that had some great points and was calling out some of the people. There was a debate against 2 ex-army vets from the military that were going back and forth. One was kind of pro-Putin in his talking points. One was more, pro-democracy. So it's definitely struck a chord over there. So it is good to see the people speaking up on the right side of history. You're absolutely right, Rachel. I appreciate your contributions. Thank you, Mark. Again, simple, rambling from a broken brain. I mean, that's what Donald Trump does, though. That's what he's good at, right? And he's getting better at it, if you know what I mean. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Rox, for the 1 gifted. Thank you, JD, for the $5 super sticker, brother. Very much appreciated. Good to see you here. Oh, thank you, Dagger. What's up, Dagger? Becoming a new member. Much appreciated, my friend. Thank you for everything that you do. We'll see if we can get that link in there somehow and make sure that people find a way to get directed towards that campaign that you have going. Because again, buying a t-shirt, representing online, making, letting everybody know what the cause is and how they can contribute themselves goes a long way, which is why, we're trying to help with the 69 sniffing as well. And if we can help in any aspect in helping the Ukrainian people, then we're all for it. So I appreciate you, Dag. Appreciate you, Rox, as well. Thank you for the 1 gifted. Appreciate you. Thank you for all that you do as well in the chat as well, for keeping everybody safe in there. Thank you, Flipper, for being here. 10 months. Greeting to all the lobsters and mods in the chat. And that is rounding it out today. I really do appreciate you guys and everything that you do, fighting for democracy, fighting on the right side of history. I know it may sound corny, but again, it didn't sound corny during World War II when that was, sincerely on the line like it is today. Once again, history may not repeat, but it sure as fuck rhymes. And in this instance, it almost seems like it's repeating, word for word in this aspect. So again, history has done a lot in teaching me the lessons and how to combat what we fight and what we face today. So again, I appreciate you guys joining me here at Blunt Politics. If I can make this news, whether it be what's going on in Ukraine, what's happening between Israel and Palestine, obviously what's going on domestically here in the United States, more, I won't say enjoyable because none of it is enjoyable, but a little bit more palatable, right? A little bit more digestible, a little bit easier to consume than then again, just sitting kind of dragging your ass through C-SPAN or listening to the bullshit, both sides-isms of the mainstream media. Again, this show in conjunction with other independent creators and other platforms, if we can do our part in trying to keep you guys up to speed and up to date, build a community here based on and in the right side of history and for democracy, then I think we're doing our part here. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. Again, we'll be hopefully chatting with Ken Casey, lead singer of the Dropkick Murphys, next week. And again, hopefully some more announcements as more guests appear, and obviously more announcements as we try to team up with more fantastic campaigns and ways in order to help different people around the world, humanitarian wise. So thank you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you, chat. Thank you, mods. You guys are fantastic. Appreciate you, pops. Thank you, moms, for your support. Thank you for watching. Appreciate you, Tim. Appreciate you, Kel. Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Logan. Thank you, everybody else. Make sure you're staying loud, staying proud, stay aggressive. Keep your head on a swivel out there, though. Make sure you're staying safe. I really do appreciate you guys. I will see you tomorrow for the last couple shows of 2025, right? I'm not really sure. Should we be thinking about what we're doing for tomorrow night's show since it's New Year's Eve, or are we all old enough where it's kind of an amateur hour and you guys will be around for the show anyway? We'll figure it out tomorrow. If we have to do anything, I'll send out a post. But I'll see you tomorrow for the last shows of 2025. I'm Boston Brian. Hit that like on the way out. Thank you for watching me here on the Blunt Politics Podcast. Again, we're here multiple times a week. Check out the schedule. Hit that notification bell. It'll tell you when we go live, when we put out shorts, when we drop out videos. If you could support me on all of my social media channels and platforms, that would be fantastic. I appreciate you guys. I really do. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, mods. Thank you, everybody else. Hey, Mark, what's up, brother? Appreciate you, man. Thank you to all the mods, Tiff, Tanya, Lokerta, all of you guys, Rox, Adam, Jen. Thank you, all of you guys. I appreciate it. Sorry if I'm leaving anybody out. I have too many to even remember. But thank you, Trina. Thank you to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram. You guys are really the backbone of this community, and I can't thank you enough. All right, I'm out of here before I keep rambling. Go watch some other independent creators and support them as well. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Yeah, I hate that. YouTube won't let me put some pretty mundane shit in a super chat myself if I try to do it. So sorry about that, DPD. Nothing that we're doing here on the show specifically. It's definitely a YouTube thing. Thank you for your contribution. We really do appreciate that. Thanks, Pops. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Well, it certainly can't be any fucking worse, can it? Knock on wood. Yes, big thank you to Mel again for all the graphics, all of the thumbnails, everything else that needs for being Slava Ukraine, Vergoja stuff. Fuck Donald Trump. Fuck ICE. Fuck the Republican Party.
The kidney has a very special place in the heart. It's an incredible thing. Somebody said, is that a Trump statement or is that real? For minors. Do we love minors? I love minors. It's a new form of vicious violation to our country. They're just getting acclimated. You know what that means, acclimated?
Hey, you got a little chubby going there. What in the hell was that all about?
Fucking Nazis.
I'm standing up here bashing the living shit out of Nazis. I'm standing up here bashing the living shit out of Nazis.
Eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there. You'll have a group of Venezuelan killers, street gangs, occupying the town with MK-47s. I know that gun very well. I got to know. I've become an expert on guns. Army manned the air. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do.
Happening, brother. Thank you, Alyosha. Thank you, TK. Thank you, Ruben. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you guys. Thank you, W. Thank you, Grubby. Thank you, Mark. Toilet. Appreciate you. Rock. Bob Bruma. Mac. Dad. Aaron. Appreciate you. Thank you, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. 1 o'clock on the East Coast. This is 10 a.m. here on the West Coast. Check it out. See you guys. See you tomorrow. Peace.
Or go fuck yourself. The big, fat, sloppy United States.